Hey friends, before we dive into tonight's story, did you know that nearly 80% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying this kind of content, consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps a lot, and it keeps these long stories going. Also, I'd love to hear from you. What time is it right now where you are, and which city are you listening from tonight? And if these stories help you sleep, feel free to tap the thanks button to support the channel. It truly means a lot. All right, let's get into it. Static crackled on the scanner. My voice came out low, measured. Deputy Cole, 10-8, Franklin County. The room felt too quiet. Walls close, ceiling low. My headset pressed against my temple, and I could taste last night's coffee, bitter and cold on my tongue. The console lights glowed weakly, blinking green and amber. Everything about this shift smelled of dust and old electronics. I leaned back in the chair, boots up on the desk. The placard on the wall said, "Graveyard shift, midnight to 6 a.m." Graveyard indeed. Out beyond these walls, the county slept under a pale moon. But I wasn't sleeping. Not now, not ever on this shift. Footsteps echoed outside the door, a soft scrape on concrete. I tapped the desk. No response. Probably just the janitor checking locks. Still, I felt my hand drift toward the service pistol at my hip, fingers brushing the grip. Habit, reflex. I punched in a check-in on the radio. "Cole to dispatch, perimeter clear at the park." The reply was the usual. "Copy that, deputy." All quiet. Code 4. But code for what? Quiet. Sometimes I wondered if quiet was worse than chaos. At least, chaos tells you it's alive. Quiet is death pretending to sleep. The park gates loomed outside the bay doors, rusted iron, chain-locked. I drove out, headlights slicing through the mist. The beam caught empty swings swaying in the wind, a carousel frozen mid-turn. Leaves skittered across the asphalt like tiny ghosts. My breath fogged the windshield. I paused, listening. A dog barked somewhere distant. Then, silence. I stepped out, boots crunching. The air was cold, sharper than it had any right to be in late summer. I walked the perimeter, radio clipped to my vest. "Nothing but shadows," I said to the empty night. The reply crackled. 10-4. I rounded the corner to the abandoned concession stand. Windows boarded, paint peeling. A single bulb inside flickered. No power should reach that building. I raised my flashlight. The beam trembled as I swept across broken counters and overturned stools. A soda can lay on its side, dented, rust around the seam. I bent, picked it up. Logo unrecognizable. Time warp. I dropped it back. Suddenly, a howl, long, mournful, from the far end of the park. My heart jumped. I raised the radio. "Unit 22, did you hear that?" Silence. Then, negative. I clicked it off. That howl had come from inside my skull, or outside. I couldn't tell. I returned to the cruiser, fingers cold on the door handle. The engine fired easily as if nothing was wrong. I ran the defroster to clear the windows. The scanner hissed with static, then nothing. I realized I hadn't heard another transmission in minutes. I keyed the mic. "Dispatch, Cole here." Radio check. Only static answered. Panic, a flicker behind my ribs. Radios don't die, not on Graveyard. I tapped the side of the unit, still dead. I shut off the engine, dead silent. The park lights overhead buzzed low, one bulb sputtering. I thought of calling backup, but what would I say? My radio's gone to sleep. I stepped out again. Moonlight carved pale shapes through the mist. Each breath felt loud. I walked to the center of the lot, held up my hand, waited. The mist curled around my glove. No answer on the radio. I closed my eyes, listened. My pulse thrummed in my ears. A car door slammed. Behind me, I whipped around. Nothing but empty asphalt and fog. My flashlight beam danced over painted lines and weeds cracking through the pavement. I swallowed. 10:23, I whispered, reporting into myself. My voice shook. I retraced my steps to the cruiser. As I reached for the door, I caught movement in the corner of my eye. A shape slipping behind a tree. I spun the light. Branches quivered. Nothing there. My breath came shallow. I forced a calm, training, procedure. I circled the tree. Leaves stirred, but no silhouette. Back in the car, I tried the radio again, still dead. I toggled the siren switch, a single, pitiful chirp. Electronics failing. My backup light on the roof winked out. The night reclaimed me. I closed the door, pressed my shoulder against it. Slide down until I sat on the seat, head against the window. The thin glass separated me from whatever lurked outside. I flexed my fingers on the pistol grip. Comforting weight. In the dark cockpit, I thought of home. Empty bed, wife asleep, oblivious. I thought of the first time I felt this alone. Rookie night shift, parking lot fight. Adrenaline so high, I hallucinated faces in the headlights. I choked back the memory. Not helpful. I keyed the mic once more. Cole to dispatch, do you copy? A crackle answered, barely audible. Go ahead. Relief slammed into me. I exhaled. Radio's intermittent. Need beacon check at my location. Silence. Then, stand by, the longest words in the world. I turned off the engine, sat in darkness. The clock on the dash glowed 2:31. 2 hours and 31 minutes into the graveyard. 4 hours to go. I reached for the flashlight and stepped out into the mist again. Each footstep intentional, quiet. The world felt thinner here, like the air might tear. I kept moving toward the concession stand, toward the flicker of that impossible bulb. As I approached, the door creaked open a fraction, a crack of yellow light. My hand froze on the frame. I cleared my throat. Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Cole. Come out slow. Silence. Then the door swung fully open, empty interior. The bulb winked off. I raised my flashlight. Nothing. I stepped in. The floor was littered with papers. Old flyers, a child's drawing, a smiling family under a sun, smudged with dirt. I picked it up. The sun had a single, jagged black line through it. My radio sputtered. Cole, status? Static. My heart hammered. I dropped the drawing. It fluttered like a wounded bird. I swept the beam across the room. Shadows pooled in corners. Then a soft click behind me. I spun. The door latched shut. No breeze, no mechanism, just snapped into place. Darkness pressed in. I reached back, hand on the latch, but it wouldn't budge. I raised the flashlight. The beam landed on the wall. A smear of something dark. Dried. It looked like paint at first. Then I realized it was handprint-shaped. Fingers splayed, too large for a child, too human. My pulse spiked. I twisted on my heel, flashlight dancing across the floor. The flyer lay face down. I stepped on it. The paper crackled, revealing the sun, now crossed out twice. My radio burst. Deputy Cole, are you? Then cut. I bolted for the door, jiggled the handle, locked tight. I yanked my baton, rammed it against the wood. Crack. The frame shuddered. I backed up, shoulder into it, splintered. Light flooded in, the overhead park lamp rebooting. The door popped open. I tumbled out into the mist, chest burning. The concession stand door slammed behind me. I didn't stop running until the cruiser was in sight. I dove in, slammed the door, started the engine. The dash lit up. Radio alive. Cole, what's your status? I keyed the mic, voice hollow. Code 4, clear, for now. The engine idled. The night waited. I closed my eyes for a moment, tried to swallow the tremor in my voice. This was just Section 1. 4 more hours. 4 more segments of quiet terror before dawn. And something told me the concession stand wasn't finished with me. I flicked on the lights and pulled back onto the road. Headlights cut through the fog. The park receded. Behind me, the bulb in that stand died again, darkness reclaiming its prize. I drove on. The road stretched empty. My reflection in the rear window looked back, eyes wide, shoulders stiff. I tapped the mic. Cole to dispatch, continuing patrol. The cruiser's engine hummed beneath me as I peeled away from the concession stand, fog swirling in my headlights like pale specters. My hands trembled on the wheel, only a little, but enough that the beam wavered across the asphalt. Behind me, the market's single lamp winked out again, leaving only the moon's weak glow. I forced my breathing slow. Training, I told myself. Procedure. I drove toward the trailer park on County Road 112, a grid of empty lots and silent RVs. The chain-link gate hung open. Wind stirred the loose gravel. I cut the engine at the center of the lot. Dash clock read 3:02. 6 hours on duty, nearly 4 remain. I killed the headlights. Darkness pressed against the windows, thick as velvet. I stepped out, flashlight in one hand, radio in the other. The static hissed, then faded. I tapped the side. Cole to dispatch, do you copy? Only a faint pop answered. I clipped the mic to my vest and pocketed the radio, minding the silence. Boots crunched over gravel. The trailers sat in neat rows, some with curtains drawn, others gaping like empty eye sockets. A lullaby of cicadas thrummed in the distance. The air smelled of damp metal and decay. I rounded the nearest unit. Wheels locked, door sealed, a single window curtained in grimy lace. I swept the flashlight across the siding. Faded paint peeled in long strips. A rust stain pooled beneath the axle. I paused. Something moved inside, a shadow crossing behind the curtain. I froze. Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I called softly. Deputy Cole, you okay in there? Silence. Then the curtain twitched. My pulse jumped. I stepped back. A low creak, like a floorboards under weight, came from the trailer. I raised my flashlight at the window. The glass was opaque with grime. I circled to the door, hand on the knob. 1023, trailer 4, I murmured. I tapped. No answer. I tried the handle, locked. I radioed, dispatch, I'm at trailer 4, no response. Copy, came faintly. I holstered my pistol but left my hand resting near the grip. I took out my baton and ran it along the seam of the door. The metal vibrated under the tip. I stepped back and kicked. The frame shuddered. The door held. I kicked again. A splintered crack. Light spilled inside when the latch broke. I raised the flashlight. The interior was cramped. Threadbare carpet, a sagging sofa, a coffee table strewn with empty beer cans. The air was stale, reeking of sweat and old smoke. I swept the beam across the room. At first, nothing. Then, a figure hunched in the corner, back to me. My heart lurched. I cleared my throat. Sir, ma'am, you all right? No movement. I stepped closer. The figure remained still. I raised my voice. Deputy Cole. You need help? The figure straightened slowly. A man, mid-40s, clothes hanging loose. He rubbed his arms as if cold, eyes fixed on the wall. I trained my light on his face. Hollow cheeks, dark circles, pupils dilated. He looked terrified. Jesus, I said. You scared me. He didn't respond. I noticed his breathing, rapid, shallow. He held something in his hand. A cracked smartphone, screen dark. "Hey," I said gently. "Want to step outside, get some air?" He turned, his eyes locked on mine. Pure panic. He backed away, tripped over the sofa. I stepped in to break his fall. His skin was cold. "You okay?" I asked. He whimpered. He pointed at the wall. I turned. Something scrawled in dirt. Long, jagged lines. Letters perhaps, but nonsensical. Like a child's frantic writing. I knelt, brushed my glove across the smear. It flaked away, dust beneath. When I looked back, the man was gone. My breath caught. I rose, flashlight beam sweeping. No door behind the sofa, only a blank wall. The entry door stood shut. I flicked the light to the floor. No footprints, no sign he'd fled. My radio clicked. "Cole, status." I tapped it. "Subject gone, no exit. I don't understand." "Copy that. Backup en route." I exhaled, relief and dread tangled. I backed out, slammed the door. The frame groaned. I locked it behind me. In the lot's center, I waited. 3 minutes felt like hours. Then headlights. Another cruiser rolling in. I approached, voice tight. He vanished. Inside trailer 4, no sign. The other deputy frowned. "Check inside?" We went together. He used his key. Door swung open easily this time. Interior empty. No sofa dent, no cans, no writing. Pristine carpet. He looked at me. "You sure this is the right unit?" I swallowed. "Yes." He shrugged. "Weird." He radioed it in. 10-4. We left. I watched the lot recede. Nothing moved. But I felt watched. Back in the cruiser, I logged the call. Subject unresponsive, interior cleared, no hazards. I paused before sending. Hazard, my mind. I didn't report that. I flicked on the scanner. Static, then another channel. Voices, civilian chatter, nothing, police. My hands trembled again. I keyed the mic. Nothing. Radio, still sporadic. I pulled onto road 112. Headlights cut a tunnel through the mist. The dash clock glowed 3:37. 3 hours left. I forced my eyes on the road. A curve ahead, oak branches drooped low. My headlights caught a flash of white on the roadside. I braked. A mannequin? No. Clothing draped over a fence post. A denim jacket, arms outstretched. Beneath it, a doll's head cracked. In half. I swallowed. Tactically, I should note it. Move on. But I stepped out. Gravel underfoot. The doll's face stared up, one eye missing. I crouched, radio in hand. "Cole to dispatch. Possible hazard on road 112 at marker 5. No answer. I tapped the unit, then knelt, picked up the doll's head. Cold plastic. I turned it over, inside, scribbled in pen. "Stay." My skin crawled. I dropped it. The jacket rustled. No wind. I spun. Nothing. I climbed back in, locked the door. Heart thundered. Headlights caught movement. Between trees, a figure watching. Tall, still. I floored the accelerator. The cruiser lurched forward. Road stretched empty. The jacket and doll vanished in the mist. I dared not look back. I nearly collided with the guardrail. I slowed, hands white on the wheel. The radio crackled. "Cole? Status?" I swallowed. "I'm okay. Continuing patrol." Silence. Then, "Copy." I exhaled. The dash clock blinked 3:55. 5 minutes to the hour. I rapped knuckles on the wheel, mind racing. Ahead, the road split, a fork leading to the old cemetery. I hadn't planned to go there. But something drew me. The wrought iron arch, moonlight on headstones. I turned. Grave markers leaned at odd angles. The grass was overgrown. My headlights revealed names: Milton, Archer, Thompson. Dates from the 1800s. A chill settled. I stepped out. Gravel crunched. I left the engine running, radio idling. I crossed between stones. Each step stirred crickets into silence. I passed a crypt, stone door cracked open, darkness within, instinct screamed to leave. I pressed on. The beam landed on fresh footprints in the dew, boot treads leading toward the crypt. They ended at the opening. I swallowed, raised the light. Inside, nothing but darkness. I clicked on the flashlight's strobe mode, momentary blasts of brightness. Each flash revealed damp walls, moss, and scratch marks. Deep grooves gouged into the stone floor, trailing into the black. My radio hissed. "Cole, you there?" I nearly dropped it. "Yeah," I said, voice tight. "I'm investigating possible trespassers. Backup ETA 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Enough time for my mind to imagine shapes slithering in the dark." I stepped closer to the crypt's mouth. The air was colder here, frost on my breath. I knelt, touched the grooves. They felt recent. A whisper. My name carried on a breath of air. I jerked upright. Flashlight beam flicked. No one. I radioed in. I hear voices. Might be wind, proceeding with caution. Silence answered. I stood at the threshold. The crypt yawned before me. I should have retreated, but I stepped inside. I eased forward into the yawning black of the crypt, the beam from my flashlight trembling across damp stone. The cool air closed around me, each breath a white puff in the gloom. My boots crunched on broken chips of mortar. The groove marks stretched deeper, like claws raked into the floor, guiding me toward an inner chamber. My pulse hammered so loud I thought it might drown out the thrum of the idling cruiser outside. I told myself, procedure. Stay calm, secure the scene. But every instinct screamed to turn back. Still, I stepped over the threshold, the beam tracing arching walls slick with moss and something darker. Stains nearly black in the strobe's flash. The ceiling arched away into shadow. I clicked off strobe, switched to steady. The beam settled on a pile of loose stones at the back, shifted as if recently disturbed. I crouched, ran a gloved finger along the dust. Fresh impressions. Something had been pried open, then resealed poorly. A low drip echoed, water or something thicker. I swept the light upward. A narrow slit high in the wall let a sliver of moonlight fall on a solitary object. A tarnished sheriff's badge, half buried in grime. Deputy Cole. My name. I swallowed, reached out, picked it up. The metal was cold, heavier than my service badge. Someone had left it here, or dropped it. Either way, it wasn't mine originally. I clipped it to my vest. The weight felt wrong, like a promise. I turned, aiming the light at the floor. The grooves ended at a dark pool, liquid gleaming under my beam. I stepped closer. The surface rippled gently, though no breeze stirred. I knelt, heart in my throat. The pool mirrored the flashlight, fractured rectangles of light. I touched the edge with a fingertip. It was slick, oily. I withdrew. A sound, whisper of movement behind me. I spun. Beam, cut across empty air. Silence. My radio crackled. "Cole, you copy?" I whispered back. "Yes. Evidence at crypt. Recommend hazmat." I felt foolish. This wasn't chemical. It was something older, something alive in its own way. I pressed onward toward another archway. The walls here bore inscriptions, dates and names carved centuries ago. One name stood out. Eleanor Thompson, died 1872. Beneath it, fresh etching, not done. The letters jagged, uneven, as if scratched by nails. My breath caught. I traced the words with my light. Not done. What wasn't done? The burial? The story? My radio buzzed again. Backup on scene. Relief and dread twisted. I called back. I'm inside the crypt. Need a moment. I pocketed the mic. I should wait in the cruiser. Protocol. But I needed answers. Needed to see the source of those grooves. The next corridor sloped downward. I followed, heart tight. Water dripped from above, forming puddles that reflected the beam like scattered stars. At the bottom, the passage widened into a vaulted chamber. My light swept over stone sarcophagi lined against the walls, their lids carved with angelic figures, wings broken and worn. Between them, footprints, wet, muddy, led to the center. There, on the flagstone floor, lay a single boot. My size, black leather, scuffed, my left boot. I looked down at my feet, both boots intact. The one on the floor was the right. I should have been alone, I was not. I swallowed, bent to pick up the stray boot. The leather was damp, warm. I traced the scuff marks. They matched mine. Someone had worn this boot here, walked these stones. Someone like me. Someone who knew this crypt. I heard a breath, soft, close to my ear. I spun, beam stabbing through darkness. Nothing. My heart thundered. I straightened, holding the boot like evidence. I radioed, "Cole to dispatch. Evidence recovered. Boot at center chamber. Possible second subject." No reply. The radio's battery must be dying. I clipped it off. I turned back to the sarcophagi. One lid was shifted, gap at the edge. I clenched my jaw. I pried it with my baton. The stone lid rocked. Inside, empty, no remains. Only a coil of thick rope, frayed at the ends. I frowned. Why remove a body and leave rope? I unwound it, 7 feet long, rough hemp, knots tied at irregular intervals. I pocketed the rope. A sudden clatter behind me. I whipped around. A stone slab had shifted, fallen from a wall niche. It lay at an angle, revealing a narrow crawl space beyond. A fetid draft seeped out. I knelt, shone the light in, darkness stretching away, too low to stand. But I saw something shiny, metal, like the rim of a canteen. My rational mind argued, too dangerous. But I edged forward, flashlight balanced on one shoulder. I crawled into the tunnel, boots scraping stone, heart slamming. The air grew colder, damp seeping through my uniform. The beam revealed scrawled words on the walls, in the same jagged hand. "Help me. Don't trust. He watches." I paused at a fork in the crawl. To the left, darkness. To the right, faint glow, electric or moonlight. I chose the right. I crawled toward the light, which grew until I emerged into a small subchamber. There, propped against the wall, was an old radio, vintage 1940s, crackling to life on its own frequency. Static and a faint voice. "Don't leave. Back." The radio's knobs turned slowly, as if manipulated by unseen hands. I stood, heart frozen. The beam caught movement. A shape hunched in the corner. A man in tattered deputy's uniform. Face buried in his hands. He rocked gently. "Sir," I whispered. "Deputy?" He looked up. Hollow eyes, tear tracks on dirt-caked cheeks. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. I stepped closer. He rose unsteadily. I recognized the badge on his chest. Franklin County, dated 1952. The name scratched. Cole. My grandfather's name. I staggered back. He lifted a hand, pointed at the rope I carried. Then at the crawl space. Then at me. His lips moved. "Finish or join." A tremor ran through me. I swallowed. What happened? He stepped forward. The beam revealed his boots, one missing, like the stray I'd found. His body flickered, like a projection in old film. I blinked. When I opened my eyes, he was gone. Only the radio crackled and the rope at my feet. I scrambled backward, nearly falling over the slab. The crawl space yawned behind me. My radio buzzed in my pocket, dead battery. I shoved it aside, grabbed the rope. I climbed out, heart racing, flashlight sweeping. The crypt beyond was empty again. No boot, no shape, only the echo of my breaths. I raced up the slope, back through the corridors. Feet splashed through the oily pool. I paused at the entrance, blinking as my eyes adjusted to the crypt mouth. The night outside was still. The engines hum, backup lights rotating in the fog. I burst out. 2 deputies waited, flashlights trained on me. "You okay?" one called. I held up the rope. "This and something else." I swallowed. I found him. My grandfather's partner died 50 years ago. Their faces went pale. "Grandpa Cole?" one whispered. I nodded. He never made it out. Neither did his partner. They were searching this crypt, never returned. Silence. Then the senior deputy said, "Let's get you out. This place, it's not right." I climbed in the cruiser, doors shutting with finality. The crypt receded in my mirror. Moonlight on stone. I held the rope in my lap, fingers tracing the knots. Each one a promise unfulfilled. The dash clock glowed. I stared at it. 1 hour and 35 minutes to go. But I felt the shift had already outlasted me. I keyed the mic. "Call to dispatch, cancel remaining checks." "I'm calling this in." Static, then a click. "Copy that." I exhaled. The crypt lay silent behind us. But in my mind, the crawlspace beckoned. I closed my eyes for a moment, tasted dust and fear. When I opened them, the road ahead was empty. The fog curled around the cruiser. The cruiser's engine idled, headlights carving a pale path through the mist as I guided us back onto County Road 112. My partner rode shotgun, silent, eyes on me. Behind us, the old cemetery faded into the fog. I clutched the coil of rope in my lap. Every knot a reminder of something unfinished. Radio traffic crackled briefly, routine chatter on an adjacent channel, but our main frequency remained dead. I tapped the mic. Nothing. The rope felt heavy, like lead. I glanced sideways at my partner, Sergeant Ramirez. His jaw was tight. "Finally," he said. "You saw him? Your grandfather's partner?" I nodded. 52 badge, same boots missing. He, whatever it was, wanted me to finish. Ramirez swallowed. "Finish what?" I closed my eyes. They were here for a body, never found it. I think it's still here, somewhere in that crypt. He exhaled. "Deputy, you okay to keep patrol? We could call it in, let the coroner bring lights and tech." I shook my head. Number. If I leave, it stays. He, my grandfather, he trusted me to see it through. Ramirez studied me. Finally, "All right, but you need backup and light. We'll run lights and siren. Clear the lot, bring the heavy unit." I keyed the mic. "Call to dispatch. Emergency lighting and tech to County Road 112 Cemetery Crypt. Repeat, emergency." Static answered, then faint. "Copy. ETA 5 minutes." We re-entered the cemetery by the wrought iron arch. My headlights lit the dew-wet grass. The fog curled around headstones like living things. I hopped out, rope and flashlight in hand. Ramirez followed, shotgun slung. I led him to the crypt mouth. The ground trembled with each step. I pointed at the drip-stained wall. Grooves here. Someone pried stones. Then they dragged something out. Ramirez knelt, shone his light. The stone blocks at the base were unsettled. He pried one free. Behind it, a narrow cavity. I knelt, shone my beam inside. A dark shape, curved, like a coffin corner, just visible. I slid the rope into the gap. It snagged on something rough. I tugged. The stone shifted. Ramirez and I together levered it outward. A section of wall came free, revealing a shallow niche about 2 feet deep. Inside lay a dusty leather satchel and a length of tarnished chain. I lifted the satchel. Its flap cracked open. Inside, yellowed papers. A leather-bound journal stamped Thompson. My heart pounded. I withdrew the journal carefully. The chain lay coiled beneath. Its links were pitted, heavy iron. At one end, a rusted padlock. No key. I clipped the chain to my belt. Ramirez shined his light on the niche floor. Scratch marks circled the satchel, as if dragged. We heard distant sirens. Blue and red strobes began to slice through the fog, the heavy unit arriving. Relief and tension warred in me. I opened the journal. The leather was brittle. I flipped to the first page. Scrawled handwriting, cramped. Date. October. Anuch, binsekis yüzyetmiş iki. The entry read, "We interred her beneath the crypt's floor, bound her secrets with iron and oath. May God forgive." My blood ran cold. They buried someone here, not Thompson. Ramirez peered over my shoulder. "You sure?" I nodded, voice hushed. Thompson wrote of burying her, not himself, a woman, Eleanor. He pointed to the next entry, the rope phrase. The chain rusts. She stirs. I swallowed. Eleanor Thompson's name, carved on the crypt wall, and now this journal confirming a secret burial. She'd been entombed alive, chained beneath the floor, and her restless spirit, if not ghost, then memory, had clawed at the stones for decades. I closed the journal. We need to open the crypt floor. The heavy unit's lights bathed the entrance. 2 deputies approached with bolt cutters and pry bars. I directed them to the concession stand hatch and the crypt entrance. With mechanical lights pointed at the floor, we removed 2 more stone slabs inside the crypt's main chamber. Beneath lay a burial vault. Iron door sealed with rivets. The padlock on the chain matched the lock on the vault. I slid my chain key, found in the satchel, into the padlock. It clicked open. Heart hammering, I lifted the iron door. A stale rush of air escaped, a hollow sigh from beneath. We shone lights into the vault. A narrow space, walls lined with cobwebs. At its center, on a ledge, lay skeletal remains. Feminine form, ribs splayed. Around the neck, frayed hemp cord, matching the rope I carried. I swallowed. Eleanor Thompson. We called the coroner. While we waited, I knelt. The bones lay undisturbed for 152 years. I picked up a rib fragment. It crumbled in my glove. I closed my fist. Ramirez placed a hand on my shoulder. "You did it, deputy," I exhaled. "We did it." The coroner's team arrived, bright lights and white coats. They documented the vault, recovered the bones, took samples. I handed over the journal and rope. As they worked, I stepped outside. The mist was lifting. Dawn's faint glow tinted the sky. The cemetery looked peaceful, innocent again. I felt a weight lift from my chest. Ramirez joined me. "You think it's over?" I looked back at the crypt. "She's free now, her secret's out." I paused. "But my shift, it never ends." He nodded. "Let's get out of here." I climbed into the cruiser. The dash clock read 5:47, 13 minutes to shift's end. I radioed dispatch. "Coal clear, code 4, exceptionally quiet." Static answered. Then a click. "Copy that, good work." I killed the engine. The world felt too loud. I closed my eyes for a moment, listening to my own heartbeat. Finally, I stepped out into the pale dawn. The mist curled at my boots. I looked once at the crypt entrance. Sealed again, secrets laid bare. I locked the cruiser. Tomorrow, someone would patch the wall. The concession stand bulb would be replaced. The park would reopen. Life would return to normal. Dawn's first light seeped through the trees, pale gold on dew-soaked grass. The cemetery lay quiet, headstones gleaming, crypt sealed once more. I stood at the cruiser, uniform damp with mist, heart still racing. Ramirez peeled away in the heavy unit. I was alone now. The shift clock flipped to 6 a.m. Technically, my tour ended, but I didn't feel free. I should have left. Protocol demanded I file reports, wash the satchel's grime, rest. Instead, I retrieved the tarnished journal from the passenger seat and slid its leather cover open. The last entry, scrawled in furious hand, warned, "He watches still. The rope frays, the lock endures. Beware the deputy who leaves the chain unbroken." My skin crawled. I closed the journal, slammed it shut. The chain at my belt rattled, a hollow clang. I touched the padlock's dented surface. I had unlocked the vault, yet the warning remained. He, whoever he was, still watched. I pocketed journal and chain, slid into the cruiser. The engine turned over. I drove out of the cemetery onto Road 112. Headlights illuminated the abandoned jacket and broken doll head spot, now gone. The road stretched east toward Calhoun, Georgia, a town waking to a Monday morning. I radioed dispatch. "Cole clear at cemetery, returning to station." A fatigued voice crackled back. "Copy, deputy. See you at roll call." I switched off the radio. The station could wait. I needed solitude. I turned onto Highway 201, climbing through pines. The sky brightened. Birds began their calls. Innocent trills after a night of secrets. I thought of Eleanor Thompson, chained alive beneath that crypt, her story buried for a century and a half, now exhumed. Finally, someone listened, but the journal's last warning echoed, "Beware the deputy who leaves the chain unbroken." What chain remained? Outside the crypt, I had clipped the iron chain to my belt, but I never removed it. I touched the links through my shirt, cold metal against skin. I should discard it, but I couldn't. It felt tied to me, binding me to the night's events. I pulled onto the station lot. The building sat empty, blinds drawn. I killed the engine. The cruiser's interior light blinked on, illuminating the chain and rope on the seat. I gathered them, stepped out into the crisp morning. Footsteps echoed in the foyer. Deputy Higgins emerged, young, tie loosened, coffee in hand. His eyes widened at the chain and rope. "Deputy Cole, sir, you okay?" I held up the chain. "This belongs in evidence, and it might belong to someone still on the clock." He frowned. "You want to file that now?" I nodded. Chain, rope, journal, all in, but I'm not done. He led me to the evidence room, sterile, fluorescent. I set the items on a metal table. The chain clinked, the rope coiled like a sleeping snake. The journal lay open at the final warning. Higgins scanned the chain. "Iron, 19th century forge work. This is historical." I said, "Catalog it, but keep it sealed." I closed the journal. "And log my statement, private appendix, officer safety." He nodded, respect in his eyes. "Yes, sir." I turned away. The day's paperwork loomed. Incident reports, coroner's forms, debriefs. But my mind drifted back to the crypt's crawlspace, the whispering radio, the shape in the corner, Ramirez's voice. "You think it's over?" I wasn't sure. Roll call assembled in the briefing room, a handful of deputies rubbing eyes, sipping coffee. The sheriff entered, stern. He cleared his throat. "Night shift. Anything to report?" Deputy Higgins spoke. "Recovered remains in Thompson Crypt. Case 24-112. Deputy Cole led the recovery." The sheriff nodded. "Good work. County can rest easier." He paused. "Anything else?" I swallowed. Protocol said no, but truth demanded yes. I stepped forward. "Sir, I found a second deputy. Remains of Deputy Cole, 1952. Silence. Faces turned. The sheriff's brow furrowed. "Explain." I laid out the journal, the chain, the rope. I described the shape, the badge, the whisper. Finish or join. I watched his face pale. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. "Deputy Cole, 1952, never returned from a graveyard shift. Officially listed MIA. He shook his head. Incredible, I said. His partner, my grandfather, died years ago. No body, now we know. The sheriff nodded, voice tight. We'll add an addendum. Honorably discharged MIA memorial service. He turned to Higgins. Seal the journal. Under lock, only open by order. I stepped back. The room felt small, walls closing. I had spoken the truth. Darkness receded. Yet I felt its presence behind my eyes. I left the station, journal and chain logged away. The morning sun warmed my back. I breathed deeply. The case was closed. Officially. Eleanor Thompson laid to rest. Deputy Cole honored. But I carried the rope's fray in my pocket. A reminder that some bonds endure. As I drove home, children waited at bus stops, dogs barked at fences, life resumed. I thought, graveyard shift ends, but its echoes follow. The chain remains unbroken until I remove it. And part of me wonders, should I? I parked in my driveway. My wife's car was gone. Early shift at the clinic. The house was silent. I stepped inside, peeled off my vest, and hung it carefully. On the kitchen table lay the rope, coiled. I picked it up. The knots were tight. I traced them with a fingertip. Each knot marked a section. 6 segments, 6 hours, 6 parts of the story. 1 knot left, the final break. My phone buzzed. Message from dispatch. Great work. Report filed. Get some rest. I thumbed a reply. Thanks. I set the phone down. I walked to the back porch. The chain lay beside the rope on a chair. I looked at both. The rope, frayed, worn. The chain, iron, unyielding. I closed my eyes. The morning breeze stirred. I took a deep breath. Then I reached out and unclipped the chain. It fell with a soft clang. I watched it lie on the porch boards. 1 knot remained in the rope. I grasped the end and pulled. The knot tightened, then gave way with a snap. The rope fell slack. I exhaled. The weight lifted. Behind me, inside the house, the screen door clicked. My wife returned. I turned, squared my shoulders. She smiled. Hey, rough night? I returned the smile. Gentle, tired. Long night, I said, but it's over. I left the station under a sky already bright. The shift was officially over, but my chest still throbbed with the night's pulse. My cruiser coasting onto the highway felt too quiet, too mundane. The world was waking. I was still half lost in shadows. I kept the chain and rope tucked inside my jacket. The leather satchel from the journal rested on the passenger seat. I didn't look at them for a while. The highway blurred past. Trees, signs, empty fields. Each mile felt like a heartbeat echo. I pulled into my driveway. The house leaned in the morning light. I killed the engine, sat for a moment. No sirens, no crackling radios. Only birds and the hum of distant traffic. I pressed my palm to the steering wheel. It was cool, too cool for August. I climbed out, boots on pavement. The rope and chain pressed against my side. I uncoiled the rope first. The knots I'd tied in the crypt unspooled in my palm. I felt the fray between my fingers. Each thread like an artery, worn thin. I didn't want to untie them, but I did. I followed the rope to its end. I folded it carefully, placed it on the porch railing. Then the chain, iron links heavy as gilt. I unclipped it. It fell into my hand like a body. I stared at the rust spots. The padlock swung, empty. I slipped the chain into the satchel with the journal. The weight settled there. Good. Contained. For now. I unlocked the front door. The house smelled of morning coffee and my wife's shampoo. The contrast made my skin crawl. Inside, everything was in place. Photos, mugs, shoes by the door. Normal. I hung my jacket. It felt wrong, like a costume I couldn't shed. I made coffee. The machine gurgled. I measured grounds with a hand that shook. I leaned on the counter, staring at the swirl of steam. My reflection in the window was a stranger. Dark eyes, drawn face, uniform disappearing behind the kitchen tile. The first page of the journal caught my eye. I flipped it open, read the warning again. Beware the deputy who leaves the chain unbroken. A knot in my gut. I traced the letters with a fingertip. They felt carved into my mind. I closed the book. I set it on the table, chain beside it. My phone buzzed. A text from dispatch. Great work last night. Get some rest. I thumbed a reply. Heading in to file full report. I sat back down. Then I hesitated. I didn't want to leave the scene yet. Not entirely. I grabbed my coat again, the satchel in one hand. The house watched me as I stepped back onto the porch. The road lay empty. The highway led the way. The breeze carried a distant train whistle. Urgent, mournful. It pulled at something inside me. I drove to the cemetery. I needed closure. The crypt entrance lay sealed, the stones reset. I parked at the arch. The wrought iron gate swung open easily. No fog now, no mist, only a clear sky. I stepped inside, grass flattened beneath my boots. The crypt door was intact. No pry marks, no chain or rope. Good. I knelt in front of it. I placed my palm on the cold stone. I closed my eyes. I listened. Nothing breathed in the darkness behind that door. The wind sighed through the headstones. But in my mind, footsteps returned. The drip of water. A whisper, one word, finish. Cold fingers traced my spine. I opened my eyes, empty crypt mouth. I rose, took a steady breath, and turned to leave. Back at the cruiser, I sat for a long moment. The dash clock glowed 9:02. The satchel lay on the passenger floor. I reached for it. My fingers brushed the journal cover. I pulled it onto the seat, ran my thumb along the spine. The leather cracked softly. I headed back home. The morning commute carried me through sleepy towns, past open fields. I kept the radio off. I didn't want any voices tonight. Silence felt safer, but I knew it wasn't. Silence was complicit. I clicked the seatbelt. The satchel shifted. I closed my eyes for a second. Images flashed. The broken doll, the empty coffin, the pale shape at the crypt entrance. My breath hitched. I pressed a finger to my temple. Steady, steady. I returned home again. My wife's car was back. She stepped out, hair damp, smile warm. "Long night?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah," she studied me. Concern flickered in her eyes. "Coffee?" she offered. I followed her inside. At the table, she poured coffee. I sipped, bitter, strong. She watched me. "You okay?" she said. The words felt shallow. I set the cup down. I wanted to tell her. Wanted to peel back the walls, but secrets belonged to the night, not the morning. I started, then I stopped. Instead, I smiled. It was small, tired. Just tired. She nodded. "Take it easy today." She kissed my temple, squeezed my arm. I let her lead me away. The satchel rested on a chair, chain hidden inside. I sat on the couch. Morning light spilled across the floor. I stared at the satchel. I thought of putting it away, but I didn't. I left it there. A silent testament. My phone rang. It was dispatch again. "Report uploaded?" the voice asked. "Almost," I replied. I paused. "We found everything?" "Yes, coroner cleared it. Good job." "Thanks." I hung up. Silence. The clock ticked. I leaned back. The rope and chain lay out of sight but never out of mind. Day had arrived. Night had receded. But the rope's loose ends still tugged. I tried to rest. I lay down on the bed, eyes on the ceiling. The journal's words echoed, "He watches still." I shut my eyes. I pictured the crypt's crawl space, the stifling air, the drain of my flashlight, the grip of that figure. I turned onto my side. My dreams welcomed the old hallways. I chased shadows between stones. I found my grandfather's partner standing in my path, badge gleaming, eyes hollow. He whispered, "Finish or join." I woke with a gasp. I bolted upright, heart racing. The room dark, even in noon. Light slipped through curtains. I pressed my palm to the sheets. They were cool, safe, no such thing. I sat on the edge of the bed. The journal lay closed on the nightstand, the satchel at my feet. I stared at them. The chain in the satchel clinked softly. I clenched my jaw. I reached for the journal, opened to the last page, the ink smudged with time. The words stared back. "Beware the deputy who leaves the chain unbroken." I closed the book again. My reflection in the window looked back, older, haunted. I rose. I packed the satchel slowly, methodically. The chain felt heavy, but I didn't resist. I clipped it onto my belt one more time. I left the house. The day felt colder. I drove toward the station. The satchel on the passenger seat, a weight I could not set down. The road stretched before me. A sudden thump on the roof startled me. I jerked the wheel. The car drifted. I pulled over. My heart pounded. I stepped out. My jacket lay folded on the roof. Underneath, a single black feather. No idea how it got there. I picked it up, soft, light, unnatural. I ran a glove along its shaft. My breath froze. It was damp, like freshly plucked. I looked up at the sky, blue, cloudless. The wind stilled. I climbed back in, the feather on the dash. I ran the engine. The chain at my belt rattled. The satchel sat silent. The radio crackled to life on its own frequency. Finish or join? I slammed the radio off, then back on. Silence. I reached over, dropped the feather into the satchel. I clicked it shut. My phone buzzed again, dispatch checking in. I ignored it. I needed these last moments of silence. 4 hours of sleep wouldn't erase what I'd seen. I closed my eyes, leaned back, and let the memory carry me. A breeze stirred the fog, still clinging to the ground. I stepped out, boots on dew-wet grass. The cemetery was empty, no workers, no curious onlookers. Only tombstones and the crypt entrance sealed once more. I approached the crypt, each step measured. The heavy unit's lights had gone. All that remained was the silent stone. I placed my hand on the door, cold, solid, no give. Behind it lay the vault we'd opened. Eleanor Thompson's remains finally at rest. And something older, Deputy Cole's spirit, freed or restless, I couldn't tell. I closed my fist against the door, then released it. I turned away and walked to the wrought iron arch. The gate squeaked softly as I pushed it open. The gravel path back to my cruiser stretched before me. I paused mid-step. The feather in my pocket trembled. I slipped a fingertip inside. Dry. The dampness was gone. I exhaled. Perhaps it was time. I climbed into the cruiser. I placed the feather on the dash, next to the rope now coiled neatly. I unclipped the chain from my belt and laid it beside them. The satchel, journal and all, remained on the seat. The roar of the engine startled me. I pulled onto Road 112, heading back toward town. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked hollow-eyed, older. I tapped the feather. It didn't move. I tapped the chain, cold metal. The rope's frayed end peeked from its coil. I thought of leaving them behind, dump them in evidence. But these were not just objects, they were bonds to the night's truth. Reminders that some stories demand to be carried. I slid the feather into my pocket, looped the chain through a belt loop, and tucked the rope into the satchel. I drove through Calhoun's waking streets, school buses loading, shopkeepers unlocking doors. life moved on. I turned off the siren and radio, rolled down the window. The air smelled of cut grass and exhaust. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the normalcy wash over me. But beneath it, a tremor remained, an echo of the crypt's darkness. I cleared my throat. I needed one last act. I pulled into Franklin County Historical Society's parking lot. The old brick building stood silent, plaques on the wall commemorating pioneers long gone. I stepped inside with the satchel. In the back room, I found the curator, Miss Davenport, cataloging artifacts. Her eyes widened when she saw the chain draped over my arm. "Deputy Cole?" she whispered. I nodded. "I have something for the archives." I opened the satchel, laid out the chain, rope, feather, and journal on her table. She ran a gloved hand over the chain. "This is incredible. 19th century work," I said. "It belongs here, with the story of Eleanor Thompson and the deputy lost in 1952. She glanced at the journal's cover. "This should be preserved," I said. "Make sure it's stored with care, and display the chain and rope. Explain their meaning, bonds broken, secrets unearthed." She nodded, awed. "Of course." I turned to leave. At the door, she called, "Deputy, thank you." I paused. "One more thing," I said. I reached into my pocket and held out the black feather. She looked puzzled. "It was found in the crypt and on my roof," I said. "I think it belongs with these." She hesitated, then placed it gently beside the chain. "All of it," she agreed. I stepped back. The weight lifted. I walked outside into full daylight. The archive's windows glinted. The sky was blue, the world at peace. I exhaled. The final knot had been loosened, the chain laid to rest, the rope coiled in glass, the feather silent witness. I climbed into my cruiser one last time. The dash clock read 10:32. I keyed the mic, called to dispatch, entering station. Shift change complete. A voice crackled, "Welcome back, Deputy. Ready for day shift?" I smiled, wanly but truly. Affirmative. I parked in the lot, stepped out, and locked the door. The graveyard shift was over. The story was told. Yet, in the bright afternoon, I felt its echo in my bones. I walked toward the station, head high. Behind me, the crypt lay silent. The archives held its secrets, and the world carried on, unaware of the night's witness. But I knew, and that knowledge would stay with me, a quiet tether to the darkness I'd faced and survived. I flicked the mic on, hearing the soft click in the dead silence of the office. It was 0005 hours, and the pale glow of the computer screens was the only light in the room. My name is Deputy Carla Reyes, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, graveyard shift. I don't usually record these things. Hell, I don't usually talk about them at all. But tonight I need someone to hear this. I stepped out into the chill Georgia night 15 minutes ago. The air was cool, almost crisp, unusual for late May, and carried the scent of damp earth and honeysuckle from the woods beyond the station. I shrugged on my patrol jacket, the fabric stiff and familiar, and grabbed my flashlight, radio, and service weapon. Routine check of the northern perimeter, I told myself. Code 4. Nothing more. The cruiser's engine hummed as I pulled away, tires crunching on the gravel drive. I turned onto County Road 112, a narrow ribbon of asphalt flanked by tall pines whose needles whispered in the breeze. There are no streetlights out here, never have been. You drive by the glow of your own headlights and whatever moon manages to pierce the canopy. My beam cut a tunnel through the darkness. I passed the sign, "Welcome to Dry Creek, population 174. Its letters chipped, the paint faded. I glanced in the rearview mirror at the empty road behind me. In the graveyard shift, that mirror rarely shows anything but my own reflection and the dark highway. I toggled the radio, static. No calls. Code 4, indeed. I reached the old Miller farm entrance, now fenced and posted, "No trespassing." I killed the headlights and coasted forward until only the moonlight outlined the fence posts. I stepped out, the door thudding shut behind me. The world contracted to the beam of my flashlight and the rapid thump of my own heartbeat. Leaf litter crackled under my boots. I scanned the abandoned farmhouse. A sagging roof, broken windows boarded haphazardly. My beam landed on a swinging porch swing, moving slightly though there was no breeze. I paused, thought about calling it in. But I've been here 100 times. The swing always moves, the boards shift. Gravity and rotation, nothing more. I checked my watch, 0018. I keyed the mic. "Deputy Ray is on foot, Miller property." All quiet, no reply. I shrugged and advanced toward the back, flashlight tracing the porch, the yard, the broken-down barn. Then I heard it, the faint scrape of metal on wood. I froze. The beam settled on the barn door, slightly ajar. The scrape came again, slower, deliberate. My breath caught. Training. "Announce your presence." "Sheriff's office, come out with your hands visible," I called, voice steady despite the thrum in my chest. Silence answered. I approached, heart hammering. The door swung inward under my touch. Inside was darkness so complete it swallowed the flashlight's beam. I clicked the beam to high. Plywood walls, rusted equipment, a coil of wire on the floor, nothing alive. But then I saw it. Footprints in the dust, small, too small to be a trespasser my size. A child's. My pulse spiked. I crouched, following the prints as they led past old hay bales into the deepest shadow. I radioed dispatch. 10:23, possible juvenile on site. I'm proceeding with caution. My radio crackled, static, but no echo of copy. I frowned and pressed on. The prints stopped at a sagging loft ladder. The bottom rung was splintered, as if weight had been applied. I shined upward. The loft was dark. I climbed, each rung creaking. At the top, the beam fell on a single object. A child's sneaker, white canvas scuffed brown. Clean laces tied neatly. I swallowed hard. Behind me, the barn door slammed. I spun. The flashlight beam danced across empty space. I sprinted down, nearly tripping. Outside, I skidded to a halt under the moon. The barn stood silent, the swing still. I fumbled for the radio. "Dispatch, do you copy?" My words echoed. Nothing. I jumped into the cruiser, doors locked. The engine turned over, lights flickered on, relief surged until I saw on the passenger seat that sneaker, the one from the barn. Laces tied exactly as I'd seen them. I froze, hand on the wheel. The radio crackled. A voice, childlike laughter, distant, warped. Then, "Stay, with us." I slammed the cruiser into drive, tires screeching gravel, and peeled away. The road stretched empty ahead. In the mirror, I thought I saw a figure standing under the Miller porch light, a small silhouette watching me go. But when I blinked, it was gone. Now it's 0035. My hands still tremble. I'm back inside the office, doors locked, mic on. I called for backup. 2 units are inbound, but running lights only. They'll be here in minutes. I'm safe for now. But that sneaker sits by my door, white against the gray vinyl seat. I don't know whose it is. I don't know how it got there. And I don't know what that laughter means. All I know is I answered a routine call. I expected boredom. Instead, I brought something back with me. I'm Deputy Reyes. I'm supposed to protect this county. Tonight, I feel unprotected. And out there, in those dark fields, in that silent barn, something is waiting. I'm still shaking, my throat is tight, I haven't slept, I can't unsee that sneaker. And the laughter, it's in my head. I eased off the accelerator as I turned onto Highway 62, heart still hammering. The cruiser's engine idled heavy, its vibrations a low pulse beneath me. The sneaker on the passenger seat caught the dim glow of the dash, a pale beacon in the dark cab. I dared not look away. My breath came in shallow bursts. Every instinct screamed to tear that thing from sight, burn it, bury it, forget it, but I couldn't. It was proof I hadn't imagined the barn, the footprints, the laughter. Proof that whatever followed me out of Miller's property had come inside. I switched the radio to scan. Static, dead air. No dispatch chatter, no backup check-in. I tapped the mic. Reyes to dispatch. Status? Silence. My voice sounded small in the empty cruiser. I pressed the button again. Please respond. Nothing. I sank back, shoulders slumping. Backup was supposed to be 3 minutes out. It had been 5. The road ahead stretched into darkness. Pine shadows pooled at the edges of the headlight beam, shifting as I rolled forward. I drove slow, 20 miles per hour, eyes scanning. The county line sign emerged. Franklin County to Calhoun County. I passed it and wondered if I'd already crossed into somewhere that didn't answer radios. The barn was in Calhoun, but the laughter had echoed through my skull even after I left. Was it tied to the land or to me? A flash of movement on the right. Something darting between trees made me flinch. I slammed on the brakes. The cruiser shuddered. In the beam, I saw a pair of legs, thin and pale, slipping behind a pine, a child's legs. I swallowed, slammed the door open and stepped out, heart spiking. The cold air felt wrong, too cold, like a door to another place. I swept the beam across the shoulder. Nothing, no footprints, no sneaker, no sign. The asphalt was pristine, as if untouched for years. My radio crackled. A voice, backup. Deputy Reyes, do you copy? ETA 2 minutes. Relief washed through me so hard I nearly laughed. I clicked the mic. Copy that. I'm in pursuit of something. I didn't finish. The beam caught something on the shoulder. A single white sneaker, laces trailing into the grass. The same one. My legs went rubbery. I backed away. The sneaker lay alone under the light, scuffed and mud-spattered. How many times can one person see the same impossible thing? I climbed back in, locked the doors and peeled away. At 30 miles per hour, the sneaker blurred in the mirror, then vanished. I dared not glance again. I kept driving until I reached the next crossroads, an old convenience store with a dim green neon beer sign. Its windows were dark, the lot empty. I pulled in, cut the engine, and sat waiting. The street lamps hummed overhead. My reflection stared back, eyes wide, pale in the glass. I thought of the barn, the ledger of footprints, the screaming laughter on the radio. I thought of that swing, moving with no wind. I thought of the sneaker sliding onto my seat. My phone buzzed, dispatch. Text, units delayed, proceed with caution. Status, I typed, attempting to regroup, will advise. My hands shook so badly the words wavered. I shut it off. No more messages, no more voices, just me and the neon flicker. I stepped out and walked to the storefront glass, pressing my palm to the cool surface. I forced myself to breathe slowly. The static in my ears was louder than the night. A dog barked in the distance, twice. Nothing else moved. I scanned the tree line. No shapes, no children, no laughter. But the air felt heavy, as if I carried something unseen that made the world lean. I turned back to the cruiser. The door handle was warm. I hesitated. Then I saw it. Scrawled on the rear window in smudged dirt. letters tall and childish. "You left us." My heart stalled. I pressed my palm over the message. The glass trembled under my fingers. I backed away, fumbling for the radio. "Dispatch, I have graffiti, no, a message, on my vehicle. Request immediate support." I heard the click of a mic unkey, but no voice followed. A low rumble rolled across the lot. I spun toward the road. Headlights, 2 cruisers cutting through the dark, but they weren't mine. They slowed, idling at the lot's edge. I ran toward them. Doors opened. 2 deputies stepped into the green glow. Relief flooded me until I saw their faces. Pale, blank, eyes too dark, they stood too still. "Carla," one said, voice flat. "You shouldn't have come here." His lips didn't move right. I froze. What's going on?" The other deputy nodded toward the cruiser. I glanced back. The dirt message had multiplied. "We're still here," smeared across the side doors, as if clawed by fingernails. I turned back. The deputies were gone. The cruisers idled empty. No lights on the roof, no engines running. Just 2 identical vehicles parked side by side. My radio burst into life with static laughter. I covered my ears. The neon sign sputtered. The night hummed. I bolted toward the highway. I didn't look back. I jumped in my cruiser, slammed it into gear, and peeled onto the asphalt. The 2 cruisers lay behind me like fallen beasts. I drove until I saw headlights in my mirror, my backup. They passed me, slow, lights off. They didn't stop. I radioed, "Reyes to backup. What the hell are you doing?" Static. I watched them fade into the night. Then the road curved, and they vanished. I pulled off at the station. The front doors were locked. I slammed on the glass. No answer. My badge felt heavy on my belt. I pounded until the night shift sergeant opened the door, bleary-eyed. "Carla, you okay?" he asked. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Then I pointed at my cruiser. He followed me outside. The lot lay empty. No cruisers, no messages, no sneaker. The dirt had washed away under a sudden rain, tiny droplets glistening on the asphalt. He looked at me. "You look like hell. Come inside." I stepped in. The radio chirped to life behind me. "Dispatch. Deputy Reynolds, status." Someone had keyed the wrong mic. I swallowed. I'm Reyes. I'm here." The sergeant frowned. "We got no calls, no units missing. What happened?" I gestured helplessly. "I don't know." My voice cracked. He put a hand on my shoulder. "Get some rest. You've been at it 20 hours. I nodded and turned away. Inside, the office lights buzzed. The neon from the convenience store faded in my mind. The sneaker under the seat, I'd left it there when I parked. Now it was gone. The barn footprints, the laughter, the messages, they all felt like a dream. Or a fever. I sank into the chair, mic still on. My reflection in the dark window looked back, tired, hollow. The radio was silent. The night outside held its breath. And somewhere, out on County Road 112, the Miller barn stood empty. But I know it's not empty. I know they waited, and I know they'll be back. I killed the engine and sat for a moment, letting the heater's weak warmth fight the chill crawling up my spine. Dawn was still hours away, just a sliver of dark blue on the horizon. My uniform felt stiff, soaked with adrenaline and sweat. I flexed my fingers around the steering wheel, remembering the hollow look on those deputies' faces, the way their voices had warped into that same mocking laughter. I told myself it was exhaustion, stress, heat stroke, anything but what I'd felt, the unmistakable weight of something alive pressing through the glass. I cracked the door open and stepped onto the asphalt. The station lot was empty. No cruisers, no officers, no sign that hours had passed. I glanced at the clock on the wall by the front doors, 2:14. Backup had arrived weeks ago. They should be inside, pounding coffee, swapping stories. Instead, silence. I heard my own boots echo on the concrete. I forced myself back inside. The sergeant's office light was on. He looked up from a stack of reports with bleary eyes. "You all right?" he asked, voice thick with sleep. I nodded, swallowing hard. Just routines off. He didn't press. He never did. He knew this shift chewed people up. He slid me a styrofoam cup of coffee. I sipped. It tasted like burnt promises. I walked to the locker room and dropped my gear. The sneaker from Miller's barn lay on the passenger seat. I thought about it, thought about waking him, dragging him outside to show him. But I was alone. I unholstered my weapon, clicked off the safety, and held it by the barrel. The weight was real, the metal was cold. I tucked the sneaker into my locker, out of sight, out of mind. Maybe in daylight I'd toss it, burn it, forget this ever happened. I locked the door and turned to leave, but the lights flickered. The overhead fluorescence buzzed, then died. Darkness swallowed the room. My heart jumped. I fumbled for my flashlight on the bench. Click. A narrow beam. The locker room looked empty, but the air was thick, suffocating. I heard the faint scrape of nails on metal. I spun toward the lockers. The sneaker lay outside my locker now, laces untied, dirty sole facing up. I froze. The locker door was ajar. Inside, scrawled in black marker, "We are many." My breath caught. The letters were cramped, urgent, smeared at the edges. I stepped back. The beam trembled. A whisper curled around my ear. "Carla." I spun. Empty room. My flashlight caught shifting shadows behind the benches. I clicked it upward. Nothing. The door at the end of the room, the one leading back to the main hall, was closed. I approached. Each step echoed. I placed my hand on the handle. It was warm, too warm. I yanked it open, swinging into the corridor. The hallway lights were back on, humming softly. I blinked, disoriented. The corridor stretched empty. Cinder block walls, linoleum floor, bulletin boards with safety posters. I shook my head. I must be losing it. I forced a laugh. "Get a grip, Reyes." I hurried to the break room for another coffee. The pot was empty. Stale ground sat in the basket. I hit the switch. Nothing. The fridge door creaked. I opened it. Inside, rows of identical white sneakers, lined neatly on every shelf. My flashlight beam danced across them. Barn sneakers, roadside sneakers, station sneakers. All scuffed, all identical. My stomach turned. I slammed the door. They vanished. One moment there, the next gone, leaving only darkness and the stale smell of milk. I stumbled back, heart hammering. I pressed myself against the wall, sliding down until I sat on the floor. I hugged my knees. The heat of the corridor light made sweat bead on my forehead. I thought of my kids. No, I don't have kids. I thought of my partner, left the force, last year. I thought of my mother's warnings. "Don't do the graveyard shift, Carla. It'll steal your soul." I had laughed. Now I wasn't sure. I checked my watch, 2:27, 4 minutes since I entered. Time felt elastic. I stood and drew a deep breath. Enough. I had paperwork to finish. I stood, brushing dust from my knees, and walked down the hall. At the nurse's office, I paused. The door's window was frosted glass. I saw movement, someone pacing. I knocked. "Deputy Reyes." No answer. I pushed open the door. Inside sat a woman in a janitor's uniform. No, the station janitor was an old man named Perez. This woman had long dark hair, head bowed, hands folded. I shone my light on her face. It was me. My own tired face, eyes red-rimmed, staring at the desk. I swallowed. She lifted her head. Mouth opened, but no sound came. Her lips moved. You can't hide. I recoiled. The reflection didn't move in sync. It grinned, crooked and wrong. I stumbled back, heart in my throat. The room spun. I blinked. The woman was gone. The desk was empty. Only my boots remained, one sneaker missing. I ran. I pounded down the hall, flashlight bobbing. Every door I passed rattled. The walls seemed to breathe. I reached the dispatch office. The door was locked. I leaned in. The dispatcher's console glowed. On the screen, a map of Franklin County with dozens of white sneaker icons scattered across it, along roads, in fields, outside houses, in the station lot. Each icon pulsed softly. The map legend read, "We are here." My blood ran cold. I punched the door panel release. It clicked. I flung the door open. The dispatcher's chair spun to face me. Empty. The console beeped. A text scrolled, "Stay or leave." I slapped the console off. The screen went dark. Alarms wailed behind me. Station alert. I whipped around. Red lights flashed. Backup finally arrived. Doors banged. Voices shouted. I dropped to my knees, covering my ears. The radio exploded with calls. Unit 4-10-23- shots fired - officer down - situation critical. I peered through the window. Deputies swarmed the lot. I saw my cruiser, doors open, lights spinning, and dozens of white sneakers scattered on the ground around it. I bolted for the exit. The sergeant grabbed my arm. "Carla, wait!" he yelled. I shook him off. I ran into the night. The gravel crunched underfoot. The cool air hit my face. I didn't stop until I reached my cruiser. The driver's door opened as I approached. I tumbled inside, slammed it shut. The keys were in the ignition. I turned them. The engine roared. The headlights lit the lot. Empty now, silent. No deputies, no sneakers, no station. Just the dark road ahead. I drove. I didn't look back. The map on the dash lit up, GPS routing me home. The road stretched into the forest. The trees arched overhead like silent sentinels. I kept driving until the sign appeared. "Welcome to Dry Creek." My heart sank. I was back where I started. I parked at the bus stop where I'd been dropped off years ago. The sneaker lay on the seat beside me. I picked it up, held it against my chest. I whispered, "I'm leaving." I opened the door. Outside, the road vanished into black. No sign of the station, no trace of lights, just the hush of the graveyard shift. I killed the headlights and rolled to a stop beneath the skeletal oak at the edge of town. The sneaker lay on the seat beside me, dirty, scuffed, impossibly out of place. I didn't pick it up. Instead, I opened the door and stepped into the humid pre-dawn air. The world was awash of indigo and shadow, the horizon a faint promise of light that felt miles away. The road behind me was empty. No cruisers, no station, no sign that anyone had chased me. Just the distant call of a whip-poor-will and the soft hum of cicadas. I inhaled, tasting gasoline and damp earth. My uniform was stiff with sweat. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst my ribs. I glanced back at the cruiser. Its engine idled, lights off, windows dark. The world of law and order I'd known felt suspended, like the station, like reality itself had been peeled away. I closed the door quietly and walked around to the front. The license plate read FCSO 0472. Normal, real. Yet I wondered, had I imagined the plate, the barn, the deputies with blank faces? I climbed in, slid the key into the ignition, and the engine died. Nothing. I turned it again. Silence. I checked the dash. Fuel full, battery charged. The cruiser refused to start. My chest tightened. I was alone, stranded on the edge of Dry Creek, with a dead vehicle and a head full of impossibilities. I grabbed my radio. "Dispatch, this is Reyes. Vehicle disabled at County Road 112 and main static. I clicked again. Please respond. Nothing. I patted my vest for the backup mic. Dead. No lights, no radio, no backup, just me. I unshouldered my flashlight and stepped out. The asphalt was warm under my boots. I shone the beam along the roadside. At first, nothing. Then a line of footprints in the gravel. Tiny, like the barn. They led into the woods. I swallowed. Training said stay with the vehicle. Fear said follow. I stepped onto the shoulder and followed the prints into the trees. The pines closed overhead. Needles muted my footsteps. The beam wavered over ferns and fallen branches. My pulse thundered in my ears. The prints led to a hollow between two oaks where the earth was bare. In the center lay a puddle of water reflecting the sliver moon. I knelt and shone the light. Ripples radiated, though the air was still. I touched the surface. It was cold, oily, like black mercury. Then I heard it, the scraping of metal on wood. Behind me, a barn door creaked. I whipped around, nothing but trees. The scrape came again, closer from my right. I edged toward the sound. The beam illuminated a fallen tree trunk, and on it carved letters, "Come back." The carving was fresh. Sap glistened at the edges. My radio crackled. My head snapped up, static, then a whisper. "Carla." It sounded like my mother calling me home. I pressed the beam toward the trees. Shadows shifted, long arms stretching, receding. I stepped back. The beam fell on a small handprint in the mud by the puddle. A child's handprint. My breath caught. I stood, heart slamming. The forest seemed to exhale. The whisper came again, soft. "Stay." Then laughter, childlike, distant, echoing. I turned and ran, crashing through underbrush, branches slapping my face. The beam bounced wildly. My cruiser's silhouette appeared through the trees. I burst out onto the road, chest heaving. The cruiser sprang to life as soon as I jumped in, engine roaring, lights blazing. I didn't question it. I floored the accelerator and tore back toward town. The oak flew past, the silent trailers, the empty station lot. At the crossroads, I nearly missed the convenience store. I skidded in, leaving tire marks on the pavement. Inside, the clerk looked up, eyes hollow. "Deputy Reyes," he whispered. He wore a uniform, mine. He pointed outside. I followed. Dozens of deputies, my reflection multiplied, stood under the neon sign, motionless. I swiveled back to the clerk. He smiled, too wide. "They're waiting." I stumbled back to the cruiser. Doors locked. I turned the key. Engine died again. The deputies remained, statues under the green glow. The sneaker sat on the roof, laces tied. I tore it off and threw it. It landed in the grass, but I heard it roll back onto the roof. I opened the door and stepped out. The deputies didn't move. I approached one, a younger version of me, fatigue etched in her eyes. I reached to touch her shoulder. She vanished, dissolved into a puff of gray smoke. The other deputies flickered like dying light bulbs, then went dark. A breeze stirred the neon sign. It sputtered and spelled a message in broken light. "We are you." My vision blurred. I backed away, heart in my throat. The world tilted. I heard the barn laughter again, now all around me, inside me. I fled down the road, no idea where I ran. The trees whipped by, the moon sank. The sneaker lay behind me, a pale beacon in the gloom. The last thing I saw before the forest swallowed me was that neon sign, flickering. "Come home." And I realized I was already home. I stepped through the tree line and into the clearing where the road forks. One path back to Dry Creek, the other descending into the hollow beneath Miller's barn. The pre-dawn chill clings to my skin. Every breath feels too sharp. The cruiser sits abandoned under the oak, headlights dead, doors ajar. I hesitate only a moment. Then I move toward the barn's direction, drawn by something deeper than duty or fear. The narrow track slopes downward, lined by leaning pines whose needles blot out the sky. My boots crush damp leaves. The air hums with silence so intense I can hear my own heartbeat in my ears. The beam of my flashlight bounces along the trunks, illuminating glistening sap, spider webs heavy with dew, and, always, those footprints. Tiny child-sized prints pressed into the soft earth, heading deeper. I follow them until the world darkens and the trees give way to the ruined barn. Its shattered boards lean at crazy angles. I remember the first time I saw it, how the porch swing moved without wind. Now the whole structure seems alive, breathing. I raise the flashlight to the loft window. Broken panes, jagged edges. Something inside shifts. I swallow and climb the rickety ladder nailed to the side. Each rung creaks under my weight. Halfway up, I pause, pressing my palm to the wood. It's warm, as if someone's hand just slipped away. I grip the rail and continue. At the top, I kick through the hole and drop into the loft. Hay dust swirls in the beam. The sneaker lies in the center, surrounded by chalk circles and childish scrawl. "We never left." My radio crackles violently. I drop to one knee, scrambling for the handset. "Reyes to dispatch, I'm inside." The static swallows my words, then faint. "Come home." I freeze. The voice is mine. My whispered confession from last night. I spin. Behind me, shadows pool. The beam catches dozens of small figures, children, standing in a semicircle. Pale faces, dark eyes expressionless. They wear outdated clothes, a 1950s dress, a 1970s coat, scuffed sneakers like mine. Their lips don't move, yet I hear their thoughts. Stay, play, never leave. My jaw goes dry. I stand, backing away. The ladder vanishes, one moment there, the next gone, leaving only a steep drop to the dirt floor far below. I catch myself just in time, grabbing a broken support beam. My flashlight clatters, beam spinning across the loft. The children drift closer. No sound but their breathing, a synchronous inhale that makes my skin crawl. I drop the beam and dash for the far wall, sliding down on my hands and knees until I find a gap between boards large enough to squeeze through. I push my body sideways. Splinters tear my jacket. I land in darkness, scraping my palms. I roll and spring up, flashlight in hand. The barn door stands inches away. I shove it open and stumble out. The clearing is empty. No barn, no children. Only the road rising toward the station. My breath comes in ragged gasps. I look back. The barn silhouette flickers, then dissolves into trees. I shake my head. I'm hallucinating. Heat exhaustion. Sleep deprivation. I must be. I force my legs to move and climb the hill. The road levels at the crest. There, my cruiser, headlights on, engine idling. Relief and dread war in my chest. I approach slowly, heart banging. The driver's door opens as I near. Inside, the seat is empty, but on the dashboard lies my badge, FCSO 0472, gleaming in the headlights. I reach for it. My hand trembles. The badge is warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. I step back. The engine cuts. The headlights die. The cruiser goes dark. I swallow. I step around to the trunk. It's open. Inside, rows of white sneakers, dozens of them. Laces neatly tied, all the same size as the one I've been carrying. I stumble back, stomach lurching. The children's breath whispers in my ear, "Join us." I turn and run. Away from the cruiser, away from the barn, away from the station. The road stretches black in front of me. I sprint until my lungs burn. Then I slow to a walk, shoving my hands into my pockets, panting. The sneaker in my locker, it's gone. The one on the seat, it's gone. All that remains is the weight of the night pressing me down. I reach the station door just as the first pale fingers of dawn slip over the horizon. I press the badge to the glass. The sergeant appears inside, rubbing his eyes. He frowns. I point at him. He shakes his head. The door unlocks. Inside, the bullpen is empty. No deputies, no dispatchers. The glow of computer screens casts long shadows. I step to my cruiser's spot. It's vacant. My cruiser is gone. In its place lies a single white sneaker. I pick it up. Dust drips from its sole. I brush it off. The radio crackles with static. Then a voice. "Carla!" I drop the sneaker. It lands softly on the floor. I back away, heart in my throat. The bullpen lights flicker. On the far wall, scrawled in black marker, "Welcome home." I spin for the door, but it's locked. I yank, no give. The sneaker's laces untie themselves, dropping in a slow dance. The radio laughter begins, soft, triumphant. I press my face to the glass. Outside, the world is bright with morning. But here, the night remains. The badge on my chest grows heavy. My vision blurs. I step back from the bullpen door, heart hammering so hard I can feel it in my throat. The sneaker lies at my feet, laces untied, almost inviting me to pick it up. My radio crackles again, static, laughter, my name whispered beyond reason. I press the heel of my palm against my ear. It hurts. The tape recorder on my desk blinks, its red light a silent witness. I flip it off. Silence roars in its place. My uniform feels foreign. The badge on my chest is cold metal against skin that no longer feels like mine. I slide it off and drop it on the floor. It clatters. The sound echoes. I want to bend and pick it up. I want to walk away. But my feet stay rooted. The door remains locked. I press my shoulder against it. It doesn't budge. A fluorescent tube overhead flickers and dies. Darkness pools. I stumble back, breathing hard. The door handle turns. I freeze. It's the janitor's closet. The door opens. Perez stands there, mop in hand, eyes dark. He smiles. He's always here, cleaning up after me. Now he steps into the bullpen. The mop drips water that sizzles on the linoleum floor. "Deputy," he says, voice low. "They're waiting." He gestures beyond me. First turn. The bullpen windows look out onto the parking lot. The morning sun should be rising. Instead, I see the barn. Black silhouette. The broken porch swing sways. The aisle of trailers stretches into a horizon that shouldn't be. I whirl back. Perez is gone. The closet door is shut. The mop leans against it as if untouched. I think I hear whispering behind the walls. I press my ear to the drywall. "Carla!" It sighs. I jerk away. I need air. I head for the front door. It's locked too. The sergeant's office window is dark. I pound on the glass. No answer. I run down the corridor. Every door is locked. The holding cells are empty. The booking desk is clear. The evidence room stands open. Inside, rows of boxes. Case files, weapons, crime scene photos are gone. Only one box remains. I pull it onto the floor. It's labeled Miller Farm Evidence. I open it. Inside, a single white sneaker, scuffed, muddy, the same size, laces tied. Next to it, a scrap of paper. "Thanks for bringing us home." My vision tilts. The box falls from my hands. I stagger back, hand on the wall. The concrete is warm. I look down the hall. The walls bleed shadow. The ceiling pulses. The fluorescent lights flicker back on. The bullpen returns. Cruisers parked outside. Dispatchers at their desks. Deputies milling about. Coffee in hand. Blinking at their screens. Everything normal. The radio chatters. I hear my name on a call. Reyes, we got a 1097 at the Miller barn. You okay to respond? My legs move before I think. I run outside. The parking lot is empty. My cruiser is gone. In its place, the ghostly barn stands under the morning sky. The swing moves. The door is ajar. Footprints lead away into the grass. Tiny prints, a trail beyond reason. I step forward. My boots sink into the earth, leaving prints beside them. I follow. The barn door creaks as I push it open. Sunlight filters through broken boards, illuminating the loft. The hay is gone. The sneaker circles are erased. In their place, dozens of small handprints smeared in mud on the wooden floor. Each print points inward, toward a dark well in the center of the loft. I shine my light down. The well is deep, too dark to see the bottom. I feel its pull. I lean over the edge. The beam catches something far below. Another sneaker, white, floating in black water. The surface ripples though there is no breeze. I catch my reflection. My face, drawn and hollow, stares back. I realize I'm crying. Tears drip onto the wood. The planks groan. I reach into the well. The air is warm. My fingers brush water. I hesitate. Then I plunge my hand in. The water is slick, thick. I grasp the sneaker. It pulls away. The beam drops. I lose my balance. I fall forward, arms outstretched, into the well. I hit water with a splash that echoes through the barn and into the woods. I sink, disoriented. The water is cold. It closes over my head. I kick upward. Light above, daylight. I break the surface and gasp. I climb through the hole in the loft and collapse on the floor, drenched, boots soaked. The barn is silent. The footprints vanish as I step. The door is closed. I push it open. The clearing is empty. The cruiser is gone. The road ahead is empty asphalt. No station, no deputies, no sign of home. Only the highway sign, Dry Creek, next services 22 miles. I stumble onto the road. My uniform is soaked. My radio is dead. I have no phone. The sneaker is clutched in my hand, waterlogged, laces trailing. I look back. The barn door stands shut, as if welcoming me to stay. The forest is still. I turn and walk toward the highway. My boots leave prints on the asphalt. I think of the recording device blinking off in the station. I think of the laughter in the static. I think of Perez, the phantom deputies, the endless sneakers. I think of the well. I hear the drone of an engine. A car approaches. Headlights cut through the gloom. I step to the shoulder. The car slows. It's an unmarked sedan. The window rolls down. A man in plain clothes smiles. His eyes are dark wells. "Deputy Reyes?" he asks. His voice is calm. "We've been looking for you." I open my mouth to speak. No words come. The sneaker slips from my hand and falls to the road. He steps out. The world tilts. The man's face blurs. He extends a hand. Behind him, the barn rises at the road's edge. The swing moves. I take his hand. The ground trembles. The forest exhales. The sneaker lies in the gutter, laces untied, empty. He guides me toward the barn. I follow, numb. The highway stretches behind us, sunlit, indifferent. Somewhere behind the trees, the recorder clicks on, and in the static, a new voice whispers, "Welcome back, deputy." I step forward into the yawning doorway of the barn as the plain-clothes man fades into shadow behind me. The air inside is thick with the smell of damp wood and something older, earth, rot, and expectation. The beam of my flashlight trembles across rough-hewn beams, illuminating the loft ladder nailed crooked to the far wall. Behind me, the highway's hum is swallowed by the barn's silence. I clutch the waterlogged sneaker in one hand, its soaked canvas heavy like a stone. My uniform clings to me, sodden and stiff. Every instinct screams to turn back, to run toward any hint of civilization. but I take another step in. The swing on the porch beyond creaks in mournful rhythm, as if marking my heartbeat. My boots sink slightly into the packed dirt floor. Footprints, my footprints, the tiny child prints, fade into nothing. I glance down. The prints vanish as if the earth never held them. The walls loom inward. The roof's skeleton drips condensation. I breathe shallowly, counting each inhale. Deputy Reyes. The man's voice, low and calm, echoes from somewhere behind me. I whirl. No one there. The beam catches the loft ladder. I climb, each rung groaning under my weight. The loft floor tilts. I steady myself. Up here, the air is colder. Moonlight seeps through a gap in the boards, casting a single shaft of pale light onto the center, where the dark well gapes. The edges of the opening are worn smooth, as if countless hands reached in. I set the sneaker beside the well's rim. It oozes black water back into the hole, as though unwilling to leave. I kneel and peer into the void. The beam disappears into absolute darkness. I can't see the bottom. The air seems to breathe up from that hole, slow exhalations that stir dust motes. I lean closer. A soft splash echoes far below. My reflection shivers on the water's surface, my hollow eyes staring back. A whisper curls from the well. Come home. It isn't a suggestion, it's a command. I pull back, heart pounding. My flashlight flickers. I shake it, the beam steadies. I step away from the rim. The loft floor vibrates, a low tremor. Dust falls from the rafters. A child's giggle echoes distant, layered with dozens more until it becomes a chorus. I press my hands over my ears. The laughter drills into my skull, then silence. The beam catches movement at the far end of the loft, the tiny figures. The children stand in two neat rows, faces turned to me. Their eyes gleam in the moonlight, dark, empty pools. Their lips part in silent invitation. I stand, voice trembling. What do you want? No answer. The tallest child steps forward, a little girl in a faded dress, hair matted. She holds out her hand. In it, a second sneaker, pristine, white, untied. I swallow. I know what they want. I reach out, hesitating. The girl's lips curve into a faint smile. I take the sneaker. Her hand closes around mine, cold, insubstantial. I jerk away. The sneaker vanishes from her palm and lands at my feet. The loft door slams below. I jump. The ladder has vanished. There is no way down, only the well's darkness yawning. I shine the beam onto the floor. The boards form a perfect circle around the well, carved with childish scrawl. We are you. Underneath, smaller letters, come join us. Panic wells. I back toward the loft wall. My flashlight beam catches dozens of tiny handprints smeared in mud, reaching toward me. The walls seem to contract. The roof creaks, threatening collapse. I pound on the boards. Let me out. My fists splinter wood. The children's chorus rises, chanting, "Stay, stay, stay." I press my back against the wall, sliding to the floor. The sneaker lies beside me. The beam bobs across the rafters. The whisper seeps through the boards. You belong here. It's my voice telling me to stay. My heart screams. I grab the sneaker and hurl it into the well. It arcs through moonlight, landing with a muffled splash. The chanting stops. The barn inhales. The well goes silent. I scramble to my feet. The ladder reappears, nailed once more to the wall. I climb down 2 rungs, pause, listen. Nothing moves. I climb faster, heart in my throat. At the bottom, I burst through the barn door into the clearing. The plainclothes man stands waiting, face hidden in shadow. Behind him, the barn's silhouette flickers, as if breathing. I run past him, heedless of his outstretched hand. His voice follows. Carla. But I don't stop. I don't look back until I reach my cruiser at the highway's edge. The engine roars to life as I turn the key. Headlights blaze across the clearing. The barn stands still, silent. The swing hangs motionless. I drive without hesitation, tires kicking gravel onto the blacktop. The highway sign appears. Dry Creek, 22 miles. I push the cruiser into high gear. The road dives into forest. Behind me, the barn's outline fades in the mirror, soft edges dissolving into trees. The laughter drifts on the wind, almost comforting now. I swallow hard. At the station, doors are locked. I pound until the sergeant appears, bleary-eyed, coffee in hand. He studies me. I hold up my badge. Bare metal, no number. It's blank. He blinks. Carla, you okay? I nod. Yeah, just paperwork. My voice cracks. I turn away. Inside, the bullpen is empty. I pass rows of cubicles, each desk cleared of files, screens dark. In the evidence room, only one box remains. Miller Farm. I open it. Inside, the single sneaker, pristine, laces untied, gleaming white. I close the lid. The room goes dark. The hallway light flickers. The radio crackles. Deputy Reyes, are you there? I don't answer. I walk out. The front door unlocks itself. I step outside. Morning light bleeds across the asphalt. The world looks normal. Trees green, sky pale. But I know better. I pick up the sneaker from the pavement. Its canvas is dry. I tie the laces. I place it on the porch swing of the station. It rocks once, then stills. I walk to my cruiser. The door opens. I slide inside. The recorder on the dash blinks. New file. I hit play, my voice distant. I quit. Then laughter. Dozens of voices layered. Children, deputies, my own. I step back into the cruiser. Doors clicking shut behind me. The engine's rumble is a muted throat clearing in the pre-dawn hush. My hands hover over the wheel, slick with sweat. I glance once more at the barn's silhouette fading in my mirror, its broken boards stitched by moonlight, the loft window yawning like an eye. Then I turn away and drive. The road out of Dry Creek is narrow, 2 lanes of cracked asphalt flanked by pines. My headlights carve twin ribbons of clarity through the gloom. My heart hammers in rhythm with the wiper's soft scrape across the windshield, though there's no rain. I don't dare look at the passenger seat. I know the sneaker isn't there. The locker room, the evidence box, the well. Each has swallowed proof of last night's horrors. Only memory remains, and the ache behind my eyes. I drive until the sky bleeds slate into charcoal. The horizon brightens imperceptibly. At the crossroads near Miller's farm, I pause. The gate stands open. I kill the engine. Silence presses in. I step out, boots crunching gravel. The barn sits dark, silent, as if waiting. I feel its gaze on me. My breath puffs in short clouds. I consider going in, one last look to be sure it's over. But I don't. I turn and walk back to the cruiser. Each step echoes. The engine coughs to life as I climb in. I pull away. Sunrise finds me at the station. I park and kill the engine. The lot is empty, doors locked. I tap the door code. Inside, the bullpen is hushed. Deputies sift through paperwork, unaware. I slip to my desk. The recorder blinks. Section 6. I hesitate, then press play. My voice crackles. I quit. Then laughter. Echoes of the barn, children's giggles, static. I rise. The sergeant's office door stands ajar. He looks up, surprised. I nod, gathering my gear. He frowns. You heading home? He asks. I manage a lopsided smile. Something like that. I drop the locker key and badge on his desk. The badge number, 0472, gleams. He stares. I turn away. In the hallway, lockers stand silent. I pass mine. The door is closed. Inside, the shelf is empty. No sneaker, no memory. Just a faint smell of damp hay. I reach the front door. The morning sun floods in. I step outside. The world is bright, ordinary. Birds call, cars pass, neighbors wave. I nod, breath trembling. I walk to my cruiser. In the grass, under the oak, lies one white sneaker. Pristine, laces tied. I kneel and pick it up. The canvas is cool and dry, no mud, no scuff. I tuck it into my jacket. I climb in. The engine balks, then turns over. I pull onto the road. The barn's silhouette appears briefly in the rearview mirror, then vanishes into trees. Ahead, the highway stretches. The sign reads, Franklin County Line. Beyond lies the world, towns that sleep, highways that hum, people who dream. The recorder on the dash clicks off. Silence envelops me. My reflection in the windshield is gaunt, resolute. I breathe in. The road hums beneath me. And somewhere behind the veil of trees, the barn waits. I remember the weight of the night before anything else. How it pressed through the cruiser's windows, a thick, slow blanket that smothered every sound. I pulled into the lot at Willow Creek Trailer Park exactly at 0002, my headlights carving twin paths through the darkness. The park gate hung open, its chain clinking against the fence in the wind, or so I thought at first. The wind was dead. The only movement came from the sway of a solitary porch light on trailer 12, flickering like a dying heartbeat. I stepped out, boots sinking slightly in the gravel. My breath curled in the air. I clicked my radio mic. 47 Delta to dispatch, on scene at Willow Creek. Code 10-23, no visible subjects. The reply was static soft. Copy, 47 Delta. Units 1 and 3 en route. ETA 4 minutes. 4 minutes felt like an eternity. I pocketed the radio, raised my flashlight. The beam trembled, my hand more than the wind. I edged toward the trailer, every step measured. Gravel crunched underfoot. A distant dog bayed once, then nothing. I'd been on graveyard shift long enough to know that silence is never empty. It's waiting. The porch floorboards groaned as I climbed the 2 steps. The screen door was ajar. I nudged it with my toe. It swung inward with a soft squeal. Inside, the air smelled of stale coffee and mildew. My light swept the small living area. A threadbare sofa faced a dead TV. A coffee table lay overturned. One leg snapped. Dust motes drifted in the beam. Anyone here? My voice sounded foreign in the hush. No answer. Just the distant hum of the cruiser engine. I crossed to the hallway, flashlight revealing scuffed linoleum and a smear of something dark near the threshold of the bedroom. I paused, heart thudding. I crouched, careful. It was mud, dried and cracked. Footprints led past the bedroom door, deeper into the trailer. I rose slowly. Hand on my holster, though I didn't plan to draw. Protocol says keep threats in your sights, but sometimes you see more if you don't. The hallway stretched ahead, narrow. The bedroom door stood half open, pale light slanting through. I pressed forward. Inside the bedroom, the mattress was neatly made. No sign of struggle. The window blinds were twisted, letting moonlight slice the floor into stripes. On the wall above the bed, scrawled in what looked like charcoal, were the words, "He never left." A chill crawled up my spine. I swallowed. My voice was a whisper. He who exactly? No answer. Just the hum of the refrigerator in the next room. I moved back into the hallway. The footprints stopped at the doorway. I shone my light around. Nothing. Then a soft click, a camera shutter. My head snapped toward the living room. On the coffee table lay a Polaroid face down. I stepped closer, heart hammering. I flipped it. The image was smeared, but I recognized myself, kneeling by the sofa, flashlight in hand. Timestamp 00:5. 3 minutes ago. I pocketed it reflexively, my gut twisted. I did not take that photo. My radio crackled. 47 Delta, you copy? It was Deputy Ruiz. Backup. I unclenched. Copy. Found a Polaroid. There's someone here with you? I don't know. I slid the photo into an evidence bag. Trailer's empty. Stay sharp. I nodded, though he couldn't see. I clicked off the bag. The room felt colder. I moved to leave, but paused. On the floor by the bed, footprints in dust. Bare, small, a child's. They trailed toward the window, then stopped. No prints outside. I knelt, traced the edge of one print, dry, brittle. Then I heard it, the softest creak from the porch. My head whipped around. The rocking chair was moving, slow, back and forth. No wind, no breeze to drive it. Ruiz's voice came over the radio, closer now. I forced calm. Ruiz, look at this. I held up the Polaroid under the flashlight beam. He stepped in behind me. His silhouette filled the doorway. He examined the image. This is you. Not me, 3 minutes ago. I swallowed. Someone's been here. He swept the room. No signs of entry, no prints outside. Gate was locked when I arrived. I looked past him at the hallway. The bedroom door hung open. Moonlight flickered. Let's clear the rest, then get out. We moved in tandem, room to room. Kitchen, empty. Bathroom, empty. Closet. Hanging coats unmoved. Only the hum of the fridge and our breathing. I felt watched. Every shadow seemed to pulse. Back in the living room, I shone my light on the sofa. The cushion was indented, as if someone had sat recently. I tapped it. Dust fell. No reply. My radio clicked. Units clear, I answered. Clear. No sign of suspect. I'm logging the call. Ruiz nodded. You okay? I tucked the evidence bag into my jacket. I will be. I forced a smile I didn't feel. Outside, the night was still. I climbed into Cruiser 5. Ruiz took the passenger side. I started the engine. Headlights cut through the black. I held the Polaroid between us. What do you make of it? He glanced at the image. Someone staged it, a prank. Why leave footprints inside the bedroom then? And why the message on the wall? He looked at the trailer. For you to see. Why me? I whispered. He didn't answer. He never did. He trusted me to figure it out. We drove back to dispatch in silence. The road was empty. My tires crunched gravel, then asphalt. The radio static was comforting. I kept it loud. At 00:15, I keyed the mic. Dispatch 47 Delta, securing evidence. No further action. Copy 47 Delta. I shut off the cruiser. The world went quiet. I grabbed the Polaroid, slipped it into the evidence locker, locked it. The click echoed. Then I locked the door. Back in the dark dispatch room, I sat before this mic. The red on-air light remained off, but I imagine it glowing now as I speak. I've told you what happened. I've laid out every detail, but I still don't know who took that picture, or why. Sometimes I wonder if the night itself reached out, pressed its camera shutter. If darkness remembers us more clearly than we remember it. I'll head back out in an hour. Graveyard shift doesn't end until sunrise, and sunrise can't come soon enough. Because tonight I learned that on these roads in this county, the night watches you right back. And sometimes it captures you. When units 2 and 3 arrive, they'll find the trailer empty, the porch chair still rocking. They'll file it under unexplained. They'll move on to the next call. But I'll keep that photo. I'll study it in every shift's lull. Because I know what I saw in the darkness. and I know the darkness saw me. The cruiser's engine cut out behind me, leaving a ringing silence that settled in my ears like cold lead. I stepped away from the door of dispatch, my boots echoing on the linoleum as I made my way down the empty hallway toward the squad room. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered once, then steadied into a harsh, unwelcoming glare. I should have felt relief. Backup was here, the evidence was locked away, and the trailer was closed up. But instead I felt the weight of those 5 minutes at Willow Creek trailing me like a shadow I couldn't shake. I slid into the desk chair beside Deputy Ruiz. He was scrolling through the CAD log on his computer, the blue screen illuminating his tired face. "You want coffee?" he murmured without looking up. I hesitated, then nodded. Black. He stood and padded off to the break room. I watched him go, then turned my attention to the Polaroid tucked into the evidence envelope on the desk. The envelope's plastic crackled softly when I shifted it. I reminded myself it was just a photo. A prank, maybe, but the image bothered me, my silhouette kneeling, and behind me that dark shape. I reopened the envelope and slid out the Polaroid. Under the dim overhead lights, the surface looked glossy and new. I held it close, squinting at the blurred figure. It might have been nothing more than a trick of the shutter, but my gut told me otherwise. "Here," Ruiz said, sliding a paper cup of black coffee in front of me. He settled back into his chair, eyes on mine. "One shot of adrenaline to get you through the rest of the shift." I took a slow sip. Bitter warmth spread through me. "Thanks." I tapped the Polaroid on the desk. "You ever seen anything like this?" He leaned forward. "Staged photos, sure. People mess with evidence for kicks. But footprints inside the trailer, no prints outside, it doesn't add up." He paused. "You okay with filing it as unexplained?" I traced the outline of the shape in the photo. "No." He cocked his head. "Then what do you want to do?" I swallowed. "I want to know who took it." Ruiz frowned. "You think someone's following you?" I hesitated. Admitting fear felt like weakness, but I needed answers. "I don't know, but someone was in that trailer. Someone who knows I'd come alone." He rubbed his eyes. "All right, we check the security footage from the park entrance. See who's been coming and going. And dispatch can ping the trailer's motion sensor if it tripped." I nodded. "Let's do it." We returned to the front desk, and Ruiz keyed into the park's security system. The monitors flickered to life. Grainy infrared images of the gate area and access road. Timestamps in the corner glowed 2350 through 0010. I watched as a lone sedan rolled in at 2357. It coasted through the gate and parked near Trailer 12, just beyond the camera's field of view. The sedan's headlights shut off. The night outside the camera's view returned to black. At 002, my cruiser's headlights appeared as I drove in. The sedan stayed motionless. At 006, its brake lights flashed briefly, then the car slipped out the gate at 007. "No one on foot," Ruiz noted. "Just that car." I frowned. "Plate?" He zoomed the image. Blurry, but enough. 3 letters and 2 numbers visible. CFP52. Registered to a rental agency in Little Rock. Rented last night. Returns tomorrow. I jotted it down. "Get me the rental agreement." Dispatch radioed that the motion sensor in the trailer had tripped at 2359, then again at 005. Both times when no officer was inside. "Someone was in there," I said, voice low. Ruiz nodded. "And they took your picture." I clenched my jaw. "Then they left, before I even arrived." The clock on the wall read 0045. My shift still had hours to run. We piled into Cruiser 5 again. This time, both of us strapped in and headed back toward the park entrance. The road was dead straight, flanked by pines that loomed like silent sentinels. My headlights carved a tunnel of yellow light. I thought about the Polaroid, about that shape behind me. What if it wasn't a person? What if it was something else? An absence, a distortion in the night that only the camera could capture. My pulse thumped. I shook it off. No paranormal bullshit. I was a deputy, not a ghost hunter. At the gate, Ruiz shone his flashlight on the sensor box. "We'll grab the rental info in the morning," he said. "For now, we secure the scene. Trailer's locked. We can mark it Code 4. I stepped out, flashlight in hand. The gravel crunched as I approached Trailer 12. The porch light still flickered. The rocking chair hung motionless. I scanned the perimeter. Nothing. I kicked at the gravel. "This is our line. Nobody in or out until we ID that car." He nodded. "I'll call it in. You want to check inside again?" I hesitated. The memory of footprints and dust, the scrawl on the wall. Part of me wanted to leave it buried, but I needed closure. "One more sweep," I said. We moved through the trailer methodically. Kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, same as before. Empty. But this time I felt the walls close in. Each creak of the floorboard, each whisper of static on the radio sounded amplified. I caught my reflection in the TV screen, eyes wide, jaw tight. I looked like I felt, wary, hollowed. In the bedroom, I knelt by the wall inscription. He never left. I ran my fingertip over the letters. The charcoal was fresh, no dust on top. Whoever wrote it came after the prints, after the Polaroid. A message meant for me, or someone like me. I stood. Someone's been here since we left. Ruiz frowned. "That scrawl wasn't there when I first came in." I shook my head. "I'd have seen it." He stepped back. "We need to bag that wall." I pulled on gloves. We taped evidence sheets over the scrawl, preserving it. I photographed it again, this time with my issued digital camera. The flash popped. In that instant, I thought I saw movement in the hallway mirror, just a flicker, but when I turned, nothing was there. I cleared my throat. "Let's go." Back at dispatch, I filed the supplemental report: footprints, Polaroid, wall scrawl, motion sensor. I listed the rental plate. I used every code and procedure I knew. My words felt sterile on the screen. The cold facts of the case, devoid of the dread that gnawed at me. Ruiz watched me type. When I finished, I leaned back. "Tomorrow, we check the rental car cameras. We'll find out who was in that trailer." I wanted to believe him. But the night had already shown me it didn't follow rules. It didn't behave. It hid in corners, slipped through gates, and took pictures of you when you thought you were alone. I glanced at the Polaroid on the desk. The dark shape behind me looked clearer now, like a hunched figure watching. I shivered and turned away. "Get some rest if you can," Ruiz said. "I'll watch the monitors." I nodded and headed down the hallway to the locker room. My uniform felt heavy on my skin. I peeled it off, hung it neatly. I stared at myself in the mirror. Dark circles under my eyes, a tight line at my mouth. Deputy Lena Carter. Graveyard shift deputy. I almost laughed. Graveyard. I walked back to the dispatch room. The red, on-air light still off. I sat before the mic once more. My voice was raw. "If you're listening," I began, "know that the night doesn't end when you leave the scene. It follows you home. It photographs you in the dark. And it writes its messages on walls when you're not looking. I don't know who was in that trailer. I don't know why they wanted me to see that photo. But I'll find out. Because out here in Franklin County, the night may watch us, but we watch back." I clicked off the mic. The room plunged into silent hum of computers. I slid the Polaroid into my pocket. Tomorrow, I'd chase answers. But for now, I closed my eyes and let the darkness in. Because on graveyard shift, the only rest you get is in dreams, and even those can't escape the night watching you. 2 hours until the next call. I sipped cold coffee and stared at the wall of monitors. Each green dot was another cruiser, another deputy answering another 1023. Every so often, one would vanish. Call cleared, car moving on. But Trailer 12 remained locked in time on camera 3. The porch light flickering, the chair still. No sign of life. I tapped the photo in my pocket. The smell of developer and night air clung to it. I traced the outline of my kneeling form. Behind me, the blur remained. I leaned back. The chair on the monitor creaked in the breeze that wasn't there. My radio crackled. Another call, another code. I straightened, heart hammering. I reached for the mic. 47 Delta, go ahead. I climbed back into Cruiser 5 and eased onto the road. The dashboard clock glowed 2:15. The air smelled of oil and pine. My hands trembled on the wheel, more from adrenaline than cold. Ruiz watched me from the passenger seat, silent. We drove past the gate one more time. Trailer 12's porch light winked at us. The rocking chair stood still now. I kept glancing in the side mirror. The night felt alive. Part 4, I murmured, as if naming a chapter. Ruiz glanced over. You ready? And I nodded. Let's finish this sweep. We parked under the trailer's lone exterior light. I stepped out, boots cracking gravel. The beam of my flashlight was steady now. I shone it at the siding. No new marks. I stepped up onto the porch. The floorboards creaked under my weight. Watch the window, I whispered. Ruiz trained his light on the blinds. They were still twisted open. Moonlight striped the floor. I pushed the screen door. It swung inward without a sound. Inside, the living room looked unchanged. Sofa torn leg. Coffee table leg snapped. Dust settled in corners. I swept the beam across the ceiling. Cobwebs, no footprints. I moved to the hallway. The smear of mud near the bedroom door was still there, but fresher. Darker, the edges crisp, as if someone re-stepped into it. I swallowed. They came back. Ruiz stepped beside me. Or never left. We entered the bedroom. The scrawl on the wall, he never left, was covered by evidence sheets. I peeled back one corner. The charcoal beneath was still sharp, no dust. I touched the wall. It was cool, smooth. Someone rewrote this, I said. Why? Ruiz asked. To make sure I saw it. He nodded. Let's bag it again. I tore gloves from the pack and resealed the sheets. We moved to the window. The frame was splintered, new damage. A gap just wide enough for a child's hand. Outside, the ground was undisturbed, no prints in the dirt. I knelt and pressed my palm to the sill. Splinters pricked me. The air beyond was silent, too silent. I stood. They wanted me to know someone was here. Ruiz shone his light on the closet door. It hung slightly ajar. Check that. I nodded, heart hammering. I pushed it open. Coats hung unmoved. A pair of children's shoes lay on the floor, size small, scuffed. I crouched. The shoes were caked with the same mud as the footprints. I frowned. Kid? Ruiz inhaled. Why leave kids' shoes? I stood. Message. He shone his light at the ceiling. A dark shape loomed in the corner. A silhouette of a small body perched on the closet shelf. My breath caught. I leveled my flashlight. The shelf was empty. No box, no child, just dust. I stepped back. They're playing with me. Ruiz crossed to the bed. He lifted the mattress corner. Underneath lay a Polaroid, another one, timestamp 2:10. The image was my reflection in the closet mirror. Eyes wide, mouth tight, and behind me, the same blur, closer now. I sank onto the bed. They knew I'd come back. Ruiz crouched. "We bag it?" I nodded. My mind raced. 2 photos, footprints, child's shoes, wall scrawl, motion sensor, security footage, a rental car, someone with access and a plan. I looked at the bedroom door. The hallway beyond was dark. I could hear the hum of the cruiser engine through the trailer's thin walls. My radio lay on the dresser, silent. I reached for it. 47 Delta to dispatch, trailer 12, supplemental. Evidence update, 2 Polaroids, child's shoes, window damage. Request CSI. Static crackled. Copy, 47 Delta. CSI en route. I set the radio down. I closed my eyes for a moment. The room spun. I leaned back against the wall. Ruiz placed a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" I nodded, slowly. "Just tired." He helped me stand. "Let's get out of here." Outside, the night air hit me like a wave. I breathed deep, the scent of pine and damp earth. The gate lay silent. The sedan was gone. The gravel road stretched empty. I climbed into the cruiser. Ruiz joined me. I locked the doors. He started the engine. The headlights cut through the darkness. We drove away. I kept glancing at the rearview mirror. Trailer 12 faded into the black. The porch light blinked once, then went out. In the silence, I thought I heard laughter, faint, childlike, or maybe wind. I pressed the Polaroid into my palm. The camera's flash had captured more than my shape. It had captured the night's intent. The blurred figure leaned forward, as if to step into the frame. I closed my fist around the photo. "They're not done," I said. Ruiz glanced at me. "No." We turned onto Highway 9. The station lights of dispatch gleamed ahead. Safety, light, normalcy, but I didn't feel safe. Not with that photo in my pocket, not with footprints in the dust, not with a child's shoes in an empty trailer. I needed answers, and I knew 2:10 was only the beginning. Time till CSI arrives, 10 minutes, time till sunrise, hours, time till I sleep, none. Because on graveyard shift, the darkness never rests, and neither will I. When they pry that second Polaroid from my cold fingers, they'll see the shape behind me is clearer now. Taller, leaning in, watching, waiting. I slid out of the cruiser and let the door thud closed behind me. The world was a muted wash of moonlight and shadow, the air thick with the scent of damp pine and gasoline. My boots crunched on the gravel lot as I made for the trailer park entrance. Ruiz was already ahead, flashlight bobbing, eyes fixed on the security gate. The sensor box stood silent, its LED blinking faintly. No new alerts since we left. I pulled the Polaroid from my pocket. The image curled in my hand. My reflection in the closet mirror, the blur looming just behind. I traced the dark shape with my thumbnail. Whoever or whatever was doing this wanted me unsettled. Mission accomplished. Ruiz glanced back. "CSI's on its way. We got time to clear one more thing." I nodded. "Let's check the rental car." We walked the length of the park to the access road. The gravel gave way to asphalt. At the gate, I called dispatch. 47 Delta, confirm rental, CFP-52 still in park? A pause. Affirmative. Still parked at entrance. I clicked off. The sedan sat half hidden under a street lamp, its dull silver finish blending into the night. I approached, heart pounding. The driver's door was unlocked. Exchanged a look with Ruiz. He shrugged. Inside, the interior was neat. No personal items, just the faint smell of air freshener. I ran my fingers over the passenger seat. Nothing. I opened the glove box. Empty. Center console. Empty. Trunk. I popped it. It was clean. No sign of recent occupancy beyond a thin layer of dust. I closed the trunk. They cleaned it out. Ruiz tapped the dashboard. But the sensor tripped at 2359 and 005. Whoever staged the trailer came and left in this. I shone the flashlight on the floor mats. Under the driver's side mat was a smear of mud, identical to the mud in the trailer. I peeled back the edge. A small scrap of fabric stuck to the rubber. I pried it loose. A piece of red cloth, frayed, child-sized. My stomach dropped. They brought the kid's shoes here. He frowned. Why leave the fabric? I shook my head. Message? I bagged the scrap in an evidence pouch. Back in the cruiser, I placed the pouch beside the Polaroid. The radio crackled. CSI was en route, ETA 10 minutes. I keyed the mic. 47 Delta, supplemental, fabric scrap from rental vehicle matching trailer footprints. Tag evidence, CF-5 and P-2, copy 47 Delta. I killed the engine. We sat in darkness, only the street lamp's halo bleeding through the windshield. My reflection stared back, tired, haunted. I swallowed. Part 5, I said softly. Ruiz nodded. We returned to Trailer 12 for the final sweep before CSI arrived. The park was silent, only the distant hum of insects and the whisper of wind. I felt the hair on my arms prickling. On the porch, the rocking chair remained still. I ran my hand along the armrest. Cool metal. No fresh prints. I swept the light across the siding. No new marks. I stepped inside. The living area was unchanged. The sofa, the broken table, the dust. But the air felt heavier, like the trailer was holding its breath. I followed the hallway to the bedroom. The scrawl was sealed beneath evidence sheets. I peeled back a corner. The charcoal had faded slightly as if someone tried to smudge it. Someone tried to erase it, I murmured. Ruiz knelt by the closet. The children's shoes were gone. In their place lay another Polaroid. I picked it up carefully. Timestamp 2:20. The image, the empty closet shelf, dust swirling in the beam, and at the corner, a small handprint, smudged, muddy, on the mirror's surface. My chest tightened. I bagged the photo. Why? I whispered. No clue. Ruiz's voice was low. I moved to the window. The frame gaped wider now, splintered more. Outside, the ground was undisturbed. I shone my light across the dirt. No prints. I leaned in, pressing my palm to the wood. Splinters dug into me. The night pressed through the gap, cool on my neck. I closed my eyes. In the silence, I heard a faint giggle, childlike, distant. My blood ran cold. I spun around. The closet door creaked. I pointed my flashlight. Nothing. Just the empty room. I forced a laugh. Jesus! We heard the cruiser's siren faintly. CSI arriving. I exhaled. We're done here. Ruiz nodded. Let's lock it up. We exited. I paused on the porch, looking back at the darkened window. The blinds were still twisted open, like a watcher's eye. I shivered and climbed into the cruiser. CSI technicians swarmed the trailer with cameras and evidence bags. I stayed back, watching as they dusted for prints. Inside, outside, on the chair, the table, the door frame. They lifted fingerprints, collected soil samples, photographed the scrawl. I handed them the Polaroids and fabric scrap. They cataloged everything with professional detachment. I drifted to the trailer entrance, the open gate, the silent cabins beyond. The night was vast, unforgiving. I touched the evidence envelope in my pocket. The Polaroid pressed against my fingers, the shape behind me sharper than ever. A CSI tech approached. Deputy Carter, we got something. He held out a fingerprint card. Partial print on the closet shelf. Not in your system, not in the rental database. We'll send it to State Lab. I nodded. Thanks. He hesitated. Anything else? I glanced back at the trailer. Just the feeling I'm not done here. He gave me a sympathetic look. Call if you need anything. Back at dispatch, I updated the report. I entered every detail: footprints, scrawl, Polaroids, fabric, prints pending. My hands hovered over the keyboard. I hesitated, then typed, subject unknown, possible child involvement, unexplained phenomena, psychological stress to deputy. I saved, closed the file. Ruiz was pouring 2 fresh coffees. He handed me one. I sipped, bitter, cold. He slid into his chair. You gonna be okay? I wrapped my hands around the cup. I don't know. He nodded. Get some rest when you can. I'll watch the monitors. I glanced at the bank of screens. Other deputies on call, empty roads, silent trailers. My gaze settled on camera 3, trailer 12's porch. The light blinked once, then steadied. The rocking chair sat motionless. I turned away. Thanks. I returned to the dispatch microphone. My voice was hollow. If you're listening, no, this case isn't closed. We have prints going to the lab, rental car evidence, but the questions remain. Who brought that child's shoe? Who wrote on the wall? Who, or what, photographed me in the dark? I'm Deputy Lena Carter, Franklin County Badge 47 Delta. I'll follow this until there's nothing left in the shadows. But the night doesn't yield its secrets easily, and sometimes the secrets find you. I eased the cruiser onto the highway and killed the engine mic. The road stretched empty before us. 2 lanes of blacktop framed by pines that whispered in the wind. I couldn't shake the image of that last Polaroid. The small handprint on the closet mirror, smudged and urgent. I kept picturing it over and over like a loop in my head I couldn't stop. Ruiz sat beside me, tapping his fingers on the dash. We'd logged everything. CSI had the scene. State Lab had the prints. The rental agency had been alerted. Protocol complete. Yet none of that made me feel safer. If anything, it made me feel exposed, like I'd left pieces of myself scattered in that trailer. Last part, I said. My voice sounded distant. He nodded. Let's wrap it up. I stepped out into the night. The cruiser door clicked closed. The scent of damp asphalt rose around me. I walked to the edge of the tree line. The moon was a pale disk, half hiding behind clouds. The highway lights glowed faintly in the distance. I breathed deep. Dispatch, I keyed my mic. 47 Delta, ending tour at Willow Creek Trailer Park. All clear, no further units required. Static crackled. Copy, 47 Delta, good night. I switched off the radio. Silence pressed in. I turned back to Ruiz. It's done. He studied me. You sure? I glanced at the cruiser. I'm not going back in there. He nodded. He understood. We climbed in. I locked the doors. The heater clicked on. Warm air drifted across my face. On the dash lay the evidence bag with the 3 Polaroids and the fabric scrap. I fingered the top photo. My reflection in the closet mirror, blur looming. I thought about ripping it up, destroying it. But I couldn't. It was proof. Proof I wasn't losing it. Proof something happened. I closed my fist. The photo bent. I slid it back. We drove in silence until the dispatch center receded behind us. The road curved. The speedometer hovered at 30. Night noises, crickets, distant frogs filled the gaps. I thought of the scrawl. He never left. Who wrote it? When? Before or after the prints? And that child's shoes. Why involve a child's image? Why leave the shoes, the scrap of cloth? A message, yes, but what? A threat, a tease, a warning. Maybe we should check local missing person reports, I said. Ruiz glanced over. Already did, nothing matching. I nodded. We'll follow up. He exhaled. You want coffee? I shook my head. No. He frowned. Get some rest then. You look like hell. I managed a thin smile. Tomorrow. I dropped him at dispatch. The lot was empty now. I watched him disappear inside. I sat in the cruiser, engine idling, headlights off. The digital clock glowed 2:45. 15 minutes until shift end. I opened the center console. The evidence pouch lay beneath the owner's manual. I pulled out the red fabric scrap. I held it to the moonlight. Tiny fibers caught the glow. I turned it over. No marking, just frayed threads. I slipped it back. I exhaled. I shouldn't have it. Chain of custody. It belonged in evidence. But I needed to keep it close. A token, a reminder. I shut the console. Inside dispatch, Ruiz was typing notes. He looked up as I stepped in. You heading home? I shook my head. I'm going to the office. I want to cross-check photographs from traffic cameras along Highway 9. See if that sedan showed anyone inside. He raised an eyebrow. It's late. I nodded. I know. He closed his laptop. I'll cover for you, but you owe me breakfast. I allowed a genuine smile this time. Deal. I drove the cruiser back to the substation. The lights were dimmed. My desk lamp illuminated a stack of paperwork. I sat and booted up the computer, logged into the traffic camera network. Cameras at the intersection by County Road 27, the bridge over Dry Creek, the curve by the old mill. I pulled up recordings from 2350 to 0010. The sedan CFP-52 glided through each frame. Empty interior. At the mill bridge, the headlights lit the road ahead. I zoomed in. Driver's seat, no one. Passenger seat, no one. Back seat, empty. I scrolled frame by frame. The car paused near the mill at 2358. The engine off, its lights still on. No movement inside. Then at 0004, the passenger door cracked open. The camera caught a flash of red fabric, just for a frame, before the door shut. The car pulled away at 007. I froze. A figure had stepped out. Slender, small, a child's stature, short coat. At 0004, a child had climbed into the passenger seat. Or out, I couldn't tell which. The video was too grainy, but that scrap of cloth, same red. My heart thundered. A child had been in that car, with no prints on the door handle, no sign of footprints in the gravel. They'd climbed in with muddy shoes. They'd climbed out the same way, leaving no trace but those shoes in the trailer. I slapped the desk. I had to breathe. I keyed the mic. Dispatch 47 Delta. I've got a 1097. Possible minor involved. Need Child Protective Services and Detective Unit. The reply was immediate. Copy. Units dispatched. I leaned back. The chair creaked. The hum of the computer filled the room. I stared at the screen. That one frame with the red flash. I enhanced it. Brightened shadows, boosted contrast. The shape became clearer. A small shoulder, a coat, a flash of pale hair, then gone. I printed the frame. It emerged in grainy black and white. I held it up. The silhouette of a child bending into the seat. I closed my eyes. Detectives arrived. I walked them through everything. The evidence, the photos, the scrawl, the rental, the fabrics, the prints pending, the traffic cam frame. They nodded, took notes, asked questions. I answered. My voice was steady now, cold, professional, detached. After they left for follow-up, I was alone again. The clock read 4:10. 2 hours until dawn. I shut down the computer. I gathered the Polaroids, the scrap, the printed frame. I locked them in the evidence safe. The door clicked. The light above glowed green, secure. I turned away. Back in the cruiser, I sat and watched the sky lighten. The first gray glow creeped over the pines. The night was slipping away. I placed my hand on the dash. The Polaroid beneath the glass caught the dawn. The blur behind me looked alive, ready to step forward. I exhaled. At 5:45, I punched out. The station door unlocked with a buzz. I stepped into the pale morning. Birds stirred. A breeze teased the leaves. The world seemed normal, too normal. I walked to my car, parked under a street lamp still flickering off. I unlocked it and slid inside. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. I glanced at the passenger seat. A folded Polaroid lay on the floor mat. I inhaled sharply. I didn't leave that there. I never moved it. My hand went to my jacket pocket. Empty. I swallowed. My pulse slammed. Someone had taken it, or the night had given it back. I shut the door, locked it. I drove away. I still don't know who wrote on that wall. I don't know who brought the shoes or left the photos. I don't know why the child appeared for a moment in the camera frame, then vanished. All I know is this: the graveyard shift never ends. The night doesn't release you. It holds you in its memory. It watches. It waits. And sometimes it reaches out. Through a lens, through footprints and dust, through a scrawl on a wall, to remind you that you're never truly alone. I'm Deputy Lena Carter, Franklin County Badge 47 Delta. I filed my report at sunrise. But the case file remains open. The prints are unmatched. The scene unexplained. The scrawl unclaimed. The child untraced. And in my pocket, I keep the echo of that blur, a memory that won't fade. I keep my eyes on the corner of the desk clock, 3:02, though the numbers blur when I stare too long. The cheap bulb overhead hums, flickers once, then holds. My coffee's gone cold hours ago, but I haven't moved to dump it. I'm Deputy Mallory Hayes, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, Arkansas. I shouldn't still be here, but I need to remember. The call came just after midnight. Suspicious activity at an old trailer park off Highway 64. Caller said she saw someone slipping between units, doors swinging open, then silent. Code 1023. Possible trespass, dispatch said. I knew that meant I'd find nothing, or something I wasn't ready for. I parked under a dying street lamp. Its yellow glow fought the dark. Most nights it loses. The gravel crunched as I stepped out. Air was damp, heavy with summer's end. Cicadas droned somewhere beyond the trailers. I clicked on my flashlight, the beam carving a narrow path. Trailer 12's porch light swung, bulb loose. It cast long shadows across peeling vinyl siding. Wind rattled the screen door. I called out, "Sheriff's office. Anyone inside?" My voice sounded foreign, swallowed by the trailer's hollowness. No answer. I edged forward, radio mic pressed to my chest. Code 4 so far. I slipped my hand to my holster, habit more than need, but the cold grip steadied me. Inside, the air reeked of mildew and rotted food. A broken radio lay on the counter, static crackling, then silence. A fallen chair leg scraped the floor as I passed. I froze. Nothing else moved. I took a shallow breath, heard my own heartbeat. Code 4, I whispered back to dispatch. I checked the rest of the unit. A child's toy train sat in the middle of the floor, wheels caked in mud. I shone the light on it. No footprints around it except my own. The picture on the wall showed a family. 2 kids, mother smiling. The glass was cracked. I thought, someone left in a hurry, or never came back. Through the living area, I saw the bathroom door half open, scraping. Soft, fingernails on porcelain. I drew in air, counted to 3, then pushed. The tub was empty, but the drain held murky water and threads of fabric. Fresh footprints led out through a hole in the thin wall. Someone crawled here. I tapped Mike. Back up to Rosewood Trailer Park. Possible entry breach. Need units on scene. No answer yet. This place was a radio dead zone. I slipped through the gap. The next trailer's carpet was damp, musty. The window was ajar. Curtains billowed like ghosts. I stepped outside onto grass wet with dew. My boots sank slightly. Tire tracks, 2 parallel lines, led west toward a shuttered mini-market at the park's edge. I moved fast, heart thudding, each breath a puff in the beam. Market door locked, but light glowed. Open. I jiggled the handle. It clicked. Inside, shelves were empty. Register drawer open. I swept the flashlight. Long aisles, toppled cans, a smear of dark red on the linoleum. Blood. My pulse kicked. No body. I crouched, traced the smear to the back storage door. I pried it open. Pallets formed narrow corridors. At the end, a padlocked office door. I slipped handcuffs from belt, used them to jimmy the latch. Silent click. Inside, desk overturned, drawers emptied. On the wall, "They're always watching," scrawled in charcoal. Jagged letters, urgent. I snapped a photo with body cam. Fingers shook. Finally, radio crackled. "Hayes, this is Simmons." "Where are you?" Relief hit like a wave. "Mini market back room, I've got something." I felt foolish. 3 hours into the shift and I was rattled. Simmons arrived with crews. We swept again. Nothing alive, nothing dead, just that message. Dispatch flagged a new call. Abandoned vehicle on Highway 278, engine running. Could be related. I exchanged a look with Simmons. He nodded. We piled into the cruiser. I drove. Headlights sliced through thick night. The highway lay empty, cornfields on either side. Wind whispered through cracked window. The sedan sat half in a ditch, doors closed. I approached slow. Engine idled. Radio static crackled. I circled. Mud on driver's seat. I opened the trunk. Inside, a bent Georgia State Patrol badge, name rubbed away. Below, a blood-soaked jacket. My stomach turned. Someone had been hurt, maybe killed. A twig snapped. I spun. Cruz's cruiser lights dimmed behind me. He stepped out, flashlight low. Thought I heard something. His voice trembled. I pointed. Through the beam, a figure at the tree line, still, pale. I ordered Cruz back. He froze. I clicked my holster open. "Stay here." He nodded, but took a step forward. The figure stepped into the light. A teenager, mud-caked, eyes hollow. "Help me," he rasped, no weapon. I cuffed him gently. "You're safe." He shook, tears mixing with grime. "They'll kill me if they find me." I called Code 33, medical and protective custody. As sirens approached, I thought of that badge. Who lost it? And that message, "They're watching." Who are they? Now the concrete floor beneath me is cold. I hover by the mic. My confession spills in hushed tones. Department paperwork will call it trespassing, maybe assault, but I know there's a predator using the night, preying on those alone. I taste blood where I bit my lip. My hand trembles on the desk. I thought I'd seen everything in 7 years on patrol. I was wrong. Outside, the sun threatens. I haven't slept. I can't forget the boys' eyes. They asked me to protect. Tonight, I barely protected myself. The radio hums, waiting. I lean in, my voice cracks. They're still out there. I step back, into the glow of the station's break room, but it feels colder now, like the trailer park's draft followed me inside. My recorder clicks on. No preamble, no titles. The boy's eyes won't leave my mind. I drove him to the substation for medical and a statement. He sat on that hard bench, shivering in sweat-soaked clothes, and stared at the floor. I asked, "What happened after you left the market?" He looked up, hollow. "They made me run," he said. "Said if I stayed, I'd disappear." He wouldn't name names, wouldn't say where they came from, just that voice, distant, commanding. I released him to EMS. He went silent once the medics took over. I watched through the one-way glass, watched him vanish into the ambulance, eyes glazed. I thought I should feel relief. Instead, the knot in my chest tightened. I grabbed fresh coffee, black, and sipped. Burned the inside of my lip. Good. I needed something real to feel. The station was empty. Filing cabinets loomed like graves. I ran a hand over the dented countertop. Thought of that scrawl. They're always watching. Who writes that and walks away? Whoever did it knew I'd come looking. I pulled the cruiser back onto Highway 278. Wanted to retrace the tracks. Moon had dipped. Headlights carved white slashes. Corn stalks bowed in the wind. I slowed near where the sedan lay. Tire ruts still pressed into the shoulder. I parked and stepped out. No backup this time. Just me and the hum of my own thoughts. I crouched by the tracks. The soil was soft, turned recently. I pressed a gloved finger into the groove. Moisture, fresh. I followed the line away from the road, into the field. Feet sank in mud. The stalks whispered secrets. Each breath felt loud. I saw footprints, boot prints and smaller prints side by side. Someone guided him here. I kept moving. The tracks led to an old service road, half overgrown. At its end, a locked chain-link gate. Faded sign, property of Blackwood Farms, no trespassing. I jiggled the chain, no give. But the lock was a cheap padlock. I popped it with my cuffs again. Gate swung open with a protest. Beyond lay a barn, silhouette sharp against pre-dawn sky. Windows boarded. I clicked on my flashlight, swept the beam across corrugated metal. No sound. Then, a door ajar. I eased inside. Hay. The smell of old hay and livestock. Rusted tools hung on walls. In the center, a single folding chair faced away from me. I stepped closer, heart in my throat. On the chair, the blood-soaked jacket from the trunk, draped as if someone had just slipped out of it. Badge pinned to the backrest, Georgia State Patrol, crest up. I swallowed. I circled. The dirt floor was scuffed. Footprints led behind a stack of crates. I shone the light there, nothing but darkness. I called softly, "Deputy Hayes, Franklin County." "Come out slowly." My voice shook more than I'd like. A shuffle. I swung the beam. A figure hunched. A man, mid-20s, clothes ragged. He blinked at me. Eyes wild. He opened his mouth, closed it. Then whispered, "You shouldn't have followed." I raised my weapon. "Who are you? What did you do to him?" I gestured toward the jacket. He shook his head. "He's not here." I stepped forward. He backed away, tripped over a crate, crashed to the floor. "I saw them," he gasped. "They come at night. They watch from the fields. They pick someone, anyone alone, and drag them off." He pointed outside. "Rows of corn. They melt into it." He spat dust. "You find footprints that vanish, clothes left behind, no body, no blood, just watching." My jaw clenched. "Who? People?" He laughed, hollow. "Not people. Not exactly." He crawled backward, eyes on the rafters. They have eyes everywhere. He tapped his temple. "Here." He scrawled in dust on a crate. "Another message. You're next." My stomach lurched. He bolted upright, sprinted past me through the barn door. I hesitated. Protocol says call backup. But I ran after him. Outside, fields stretched endless. He vanished into the stalks. I chased, breath burning. Corn whipped my face. I lost him. I stopped. Silence pressed in. No footsteps, no hint of movement, just the wind. I radioed dispatch. "Hayes, unknown suspect fled into cornfield at Blackwood Barn. Need assistance." Static crackled. "Copy. Backup en route." I waited. Darkness gave way to pale light. The field looked benign in dawn's glow. I stepped in, footprints, mine, his, then nothing. The mud ended, soil dry, no sign of struggle. I shone my light along the rows. Nothing but green. I thought of the boy, the message in the market. Now this. Pattern. Someone abducts, drops the victim's jacket and badge, leaves a warning. They're watching? You're next. It's ritual, calculated. I felt the weight of every solitary shift I've ever worked. All the empty roads, the silent houses. This predator uses isolation as a weapon. Backup arrived, Simmons, Cruz, 2 more deputies. They swept the field, drones overhead. K-9 unit called nothing. I watched the tracker move between the rows. No heat signature. It was as if he melted into the earth. We left the barn locked, taped it off. Report filed, missing person, possible abduction, evidence collected. But the jacket and badge, they're mine now, evidence. I bagged them. Now I'm back at the desk. The recorder's light blinks. My voice is husky. They're out there, we know nothing. And I know one thing for sure. You don't chase them, they chase you. I stop the tape. My hands tremble. I should sleep, but I can't. I glance at the clock. 6:37. Sunrise in 20 minutes. I lean back, eyes on the ceiling. The station is empty, but I feel watched. Every creak of the vents, every flicker of light feels like someone's eyes. I reach into my pocket, child's toy train, muddy. I don't remember picking it up, but I have it. I drop it on the desk. It rolls once, stops. I whisper to the quiet room, they left this for me. I stand. I walk out. The door closes behind with a thud. The recorder's light still blinks. The tape will be reviewed. They'll see my eyes, hear my voice. But they won't understand what I felt in that corn. How the rows seemed to lean in, listening. I walk toward my cruiser. The morning air is cool. I stare at the field. No movement. I slide in, door clicking. Engine starts. I drive away slowly, but I keep glancing in the mirror. The stalks sway. Maybe the figure stands there watching me go, or maybe it's just the wind. Either way, I know it's not over. And I won't stop until I know who they are, until I fill that blank in my mind. Because the graveyard shift doesn't end at sunrise. It follows you home. And sometimes it never lets you go. My head pounds as the station empties for the morning shift change. I tuck the muddy toy train into my jacket pocket. Evidence, I tell myself, though it feels like a warning. The recorder's red light blinks. I hit play. My voice sounds hollow. I pause it and stand. The break room is silent. Fluorescent hum. I lean my forehead on cool tile. I shouldn't still be chasing this, but I can't stop. The field gave nothing back. The boy vanished. The barn yielded only threats scrawled in dust. I drag a chair to the evidence locker. Simmons walks in, bleary-eyed. "You okay?" he asks. I shrug. He sees the train on the table. "Where'd that come from?" I show him the pocket. He frowns. Chain of custody nightmare. I nod. I know, but someone left it there. He sighs. Jesus. Hayes, maybe you need rest. I stare at him. Rest or answers? He doesn't reply. Back at my desk, I pull up the body cam footage from the market. Static, then me entering. I scrub forward. At 3:18, my torch beam passes over the shelf where the blood was. I slow it down, frame by frame. There, a flash. Something white against the dark shelf, not blood. A hand? No, a slip of paper. I rewind. I didn't see it live. I zoom in, a folded scrap wedged under a can. I pause. Heart thumps. I extract the frame. The paper is too small to read. I grab latex gloves. I reopen the evidence bag holding the cans. I fish out the scrap with tweezers. It's a piece of a child's drawing, a crude sketch of a trailer, a barn, a cornfield, all connected by arrows. Beneath, in tiny scrawl, "Follow the path." I press my thumb against it. The graphite smears. Someone meant for me to find this. I tape it to my notebook. I draw the arrows bigger. Trailer park, market, barn, cornfield, a circuit, a trap. I feel queasy. Whoever made this map has been here before. They know the ground. They know me. I call dispatch. Run a check on missing persons in Franklin County for the last month. Rural areas, transient populations. Dispatch. "You want juveniles as well?" I hesitate. "Yes, all ages." The list comes back sparse. 3 runaways, 1 unreported. None match the boy yet. Names, ages, last seen near Rosewood. I print and highlight the addresses. I drive to the first address, an abandoned farmhouse off County Road 17. By the time I arrive, midday sun burns off the chill. The house sags, windows boarded, grass waist-high. I step out, radio silent. No backup. I feel the weight of the shift still in my bones. I cross the yard, crunching broken glass. Front door hangs on one hinge. Inside, dust motes float in sunbeams. Wallpaper peels. On the floor, footprints. Adult boot prints. Smaller prints alongside. They lead to the kitchen, where a chair lies on its side. I crouch. On the table, a mason jar half filled with brown liquid. I sniff. It's just old tea. Next to it, a scrap of fabric. The boy's jacket? No, different pattern. Dark denim. I bag it. I follow the prints upstairs. At the top, a child's bedroom. A single bed, mattress stained. On the pillow, a scribbled note. "They watch from above." I freeze. Above, the attic. I climb the narrow stairs, flashlight dancing on rafters. Floorboards creak underfoot. In the attic's corner, a hatch. I push it open. Inside, nothing but insulation. Yet I feel eyes on me. I drop to my knees, brush insulation aside. There, tucked between beams, is a cracked smartphone. I slip it into evidence. No case. I power it on. The screen flickers. Locked. I take it to Cruz at Tech. He cracks the pin. 0000, default. Inside, photos. Hundreds of grainy images. Empty fields, rusted trailers, dark barns. One folder labeled Watchers. I scroll. Faces, no shadows, shapes. Tall silhouettes at field edges. The last photo, me at the market, back turned, flashlight in hand. Timestamp 3:19, someone snapped it. My blood runs cold. They photographed me. I show Cruz. He goes pale. This is wrong. I nod. They're documenting me. He asks if I want to report this. I shake my head. Not yet. I need to know who before I alert the department. If they have insiders, I don't know whom I can trust. I sit in my cruiser at Rosewood Trailer Park again. The trailers seem empty, but I see movement in the corner of my eye. Curtain flicker. I call into the radio. Hayes checking sector. Code 4 so far. My voice echoes. I step into trailer 7. The floor sags. I don't bother calling out. I walk. In the back room, the air is colder. I point my light at the wall. Scratches. Deep gouges in the vinyl. I crouch. On the floor, another scrap, half a child's toy train wheel. I bag it. Suddenly, my radio crackles. "Deputy, you copy?" "Simmons." I answer. "Be advised, CAF. Unit spotted someone matching juvenile's description near the east entrance." I thank him. Heart thuds. I exit the trailer. On the grass, footprints fresh, no mud, just dew. They head toward the market. The same loop. I follow. At the market's back door, I find a set of keys on the ground. Sheriff's office keys, truck keys. I pick them up. My cruiser key fob is missing. Someone stole it. panic. If they have my keys, they can come to the station. They can come to my home. I stow them. I run to my car. Spare key works. I start the engine. I drive to the barn at Blackwood Farms. I park on the service road. Gate still taped. I cut the tape, unlatch padlock. I step inside the barn again. It smells of hay and fear. The folding chair is gone, the jacket and badge removed. In their place, 3 more scraps of paper taped to the wall. You followed. You chased. Now they follow you. I trace each. My hand shakes. I photograph them. I feel watched. I spin. Nothing. Silence. I leave the barn. I pass the cornfield, the stock's tower. I walk in 2 steps, then back out. I mark the edge with tape. I call for K9. By the time the dog arrives, I'm back at my cruiser. The dog searches. Handler radios. No scent. The field swallowed everything. I return to the station. I lock the barn evidence in my locker. Keys, train wheel, phone, scraps. I pull out my notebook. I draw the loop again. Farmhouse, trailers, market, barn, field. A closed circuit. Someone led me through it, taught me its shape. I flip pages. A new entry. They know my routes. I update the report. I write, possible organized predator using abandoned rural infrastructure. Subject unknown. Evidence collected. I file it under urgent. I leave it on the chief's desk with a note. Read before tonight's shift. I try to eat. The cafeteria food tastes like cardboard. I push peas around. My stomach twists. I think of the boy vanishing in the corn. I think of the phone's photos. Someone clicked while I chased shadows. Someone waits. I step outside. The sun is high. Heat shimmers off asphalt. I close my eyes. I see the barn's darkness, the trailer's hush, the market's neon static. I hear the cicadas. I feel breath on my neck. I walk back inside. I grab my recorder. I hit record. They mapped the shift, I say. They studied my patterns. They know the roads I drive alone. They know the places no one else checks. I thought the graveyard shift was about empty roads and quiet houses. It's about empty minds, theirs and mine. They fill the void with terror. I stop. I breathe. My voice catches. I turn off the recorder. I tuck it away. I gather the evidence bag with scraps and photos. I walk to the armory. I sign out another flashlight, extra magazines, a patrol rifle. I'm supposed to be off until 1800 hours, but I won't go home. Not now. I'm back at Rosewood Trailer Park. The sun angles low, shadows deepen. I check each unit's door, each window. I shine light under vehicles. I call dispatch. Haze, all clear for now. I hang up. I step into trailer 12 one last time. The tub's drain is empty now. No fabric, no footprints. Someone cleaned it. Someone erased their track. But the map remains in my notebook. I leave. I walk past the burned-out porch lamp. I glance at the tree line. No movement. I feel a presence anyway. I drive the circuit again. Farmhouse, market, barn. Each place I pause, breathe deep, listen. The world feels hollow. I sense eyes. The sun dips behind trees. Evening shift arrives. I meet Simmons at the gate to the barn. He says, "You sure about this?" I nod. "They'll come tonight." He nods. "We'll be ready." I slip inside the barn ahead of him. I set up my recorder on a crate. I press record. This is Deputy Mallory Hayes. If this is the last recording, know they got me in the end. They follow the path, they wait in the quiet, and they won't stop until they fill every empty space. I stop it. Silence. The crate beneath me creaks. I tuck the recorder into my jacket. I step back into the field as twilight falls. I look east. The corn stretches endless. I step off the barn's porch plank onto the first row. The stalks close behind me. I walk in, each step muffled. The world narrows to the rustle of leaves, my pulse in my ears. I don't know how long I walk. The light dies. I raise my flashlight. The beam trembles. I see footprints, my own, and beside them, smaller prints. They circle around me, always watching. I stop. Heart hammers. I call into the dark, "Show yourself." My voice echoes. No answer. Then the beam catches something. Shiny metal half buried in soil. I crouch. It's a child's locket. Inside, a photo of the boy, smiling. I press it open. The glass cracks. I drop it. It falls silent. Behind me, something moves. I whirl. Stalks sway. A figure stands at the edge of light, tall, featureless. I step backward. The beam swings up. Nothing. I step forward. Again, the locket. I pick it up. I hear breath. Not mine. I raise my rifle. "Come out!" The field answers with wind. I step back toward the barn. Every leaf seems to whisper. I run. The stalks part. I burst into the barn's open door. Simmons flips on his torch. "Hayes?" he whispers. I hold up the locket. "They left this." His face goes white. I collapse against the wall. My legs give out. He kneels. "We're getting you out." I shake my head. One more thing. I hold the locket out. He takes it. On the back, scratched. "Graveyard knows." I close my eyes. Night will come. The barn will fill with deputies. Dogs will scour the field. Drones will hum overhead. They will find nothing. I stand. I shoulder my rifle. I step into the field again. I follow the prints away from the barn, away from safety, because they mapped the shift. They know I can't stop, and I know, if I don't follow, they win the silence. I disappear into the stalks. My flashlight winks out. I step forward into the corn, the muddy locket heavy in my hand. The stalks close behind me, snapping shut like jaws. My flashlight beam trembles across wet leaves. Every direction looks the same. My breath fogs in the chill that wasn't there before. I check my watch by reflex. Dead battery, of course. I stow it and press on, guided by the narrow beam. Footprints, mine and the boys', veer deeper. I follow both. The earth smells of rot and promise. Every step echoes in my skull. The locket swings, clicking open, revealing his face. I whisper, "I'm coming." The field answers with silence. Suddenly, the beam catches something, a small clearing. At its center, the boy stands, back turned, shoulders shaking. Relief and dread war in me. I call softly, "Hey, are you okay?" He doesn't move. I step closer. The ground is littered with scraps, train wheels, fabric threads, shards of that drawing. A shrine. He turns, face blank, eyes too large, reflecting my light. He lifts a finger, points past me. I follow the direction, nothing but endless stalks. I look back, he's gone. The clearing is empty save for the debris. My heart hammers. I scoop up the scraps. This ritual, they invited me. I gather the pieces, the wheel, the fabric, the map fragments, the locket. I tuck them in my vest. I need to burn them, destroy the circuit. I run toward the barn. The door is closed. I kick it open. Simmons and Cruz jump. He was here. I hold up my hands. Empty field, shrine. I thrust debris at Cruz. He frowns, takes it. "What now?" he asks. I slide to the floor. We end the loop. I pull my lighter. Flame trembles. I drop scraps on the dirt floor. They ignite slow. Cardboard, fabric, paper, smoke coils. The shrine's ashes scatter. Simmons shines his light on me. "You good?" I nod, voice gone. I stand. We reload weapons. We exit into dusk. The field waits. We sweep with K9 again. Dog sniffs the barn's scorched floor. Nothing. We search the clearing. No footprints but ours. The shrine's gone, as if it never existed. I drive back to the station, stunned quiet between us. I bag the locket. Cruz locks it in evidence. He looks at me. "You broke it?" I manage a wan smile. Maybe. I walk away. I sit before the recorder. The red light glares. I press record. They wanted me to follow. I burned their markers. But they'll rebuild, they always do. You can't outrun the graveyard shift because it lives in empty places, in the spaces between heartbeat and breath. Tonight I burned the shrine. But I didn't find them, and they didn't find me, yet. I stop. I leave the recorder on the desk. I walk out. The station lights hum. Outside, the field sways under street lamps. No patrol cars left. I head to my cruiser. My phone buzzes. A text from dispatch. Found phone belonging to missing deputy. Trailer park, Unit 8. My blood runs cold. I tap for details. Photo attachment. The Georgia badge, pinned on Trailer 8's door, shining under the porch light. Below it, scratched on wood, nice try. I drop the phone. The cornfield looms beyond. I look at the barn silhouette. They're still there, waiting. I climb into the cruiser. The engine's cold. I turn the key. Nothing. They drain the battery. I step out. The night air presses in. My rifle and flashlight sit on the seat. I grab both. I walk toward the field. Each stalk whispers. I hold up the flashlight. Beam steady. I step into the dark green corridor. They know I'm coming, and I know I'll never leave empty-handed.